Hello?
Hey, I see Noah.
Oh, wait. Mike is already trying to get in.
Well, I'm sure we can chill with Mike before we start.
Yeah, let's have him come in.
Yeah.
Hello, everybody.
Hello, Mike.
No, he's not in yet.
I know. He might be on the stream.
Wait. There he is. Hello.
Maybe he's making a poopy.
Hello. Test. Oh, Mike is not here. Oh, let's see. View gallery. Oh, immersive. What is this?
Hey, yo, from Garrett. What is that?
What
Oh,
up,
we can be in the
Noah? What up,
audience?
Garrett from YouTube? No, what is this?
Mike's mic is there. Oh my God, that's hilarious.
Yes. Wait, but can you hear scoot up a little bit? Oh, are we sharing a single seat? I think we're
You
sharing.
need to be taller. Apparently.
Hello,
I need to match
hello.
your hair height.
Wait, this is crazy.
Hello there. Oh,
Hello.
if I wanted to disappear from.
Mike's mic is there. What is this one? The kitchen talk show
We can be by the fire.
by fire. I like the kitchen one. Hold on, what is this? Jet skis? Hold on, skis.
Wait, we can be skiing? Oh my God.
Oh, here we go. Oh, we're way too small for this.
Yeah, I'd say so. Look at Mike's mic miking me up.
Hold on, wait a
Mike's
second,
mic is miking Mike.
The fire one is good. I like the cooking one. There we go.
We lost him.
Wait. Oh, you gotta here. Oh, there it is. There you are.
It's funny.
Hello.
If I
Hello. Mike.
Mike,
Oh,
fart twice if you're pooping.
there's an espresso machine right back here. Also, there's an espresso machine in this one. The themes for both of these are espresso machines. Hello, Mike. Hello. Oh,
Can you hear us, Mike?
Oh, what's up? What's up? Sorry about that. I was just in the restroom for a moment.
no worries. Oh, I can
Oh.
hear myself. Why can I hear myself?
Monitoring?
Oh,
There we go.
yes. Okay, hello.
We're live in the coffee shop. Okay.
We could do in front of a fire too. Have
We
like
can-
a fireside.
Nice.
I
With
want to
the
say this is
disappearing
when you hear the song by Tank, "Fucking with Me" in the background.
The pumpkin is sponsored by Zoom.
Oh my God!
Lou, you are the invisible man. What are you? I recently.
am the Pot of Greed and Karibo.
You just hide behind the mic and you disappear. You can control it. Oh shit. Oh shit. Oh shit. Oh shit.
It's just popping out
Hi,
of the
Mike.
weeds.
Hey, guys,
What is going on?
chilling.
Can you hear us though? You can hear us?
Yeah. Can you hear me all right? Is it coming through?
Yeah,
I think
Okay.
so. I think so.
possibly a little low.
I think a little bit low. Can you go up a little bit more?
Yeah,
Is
yeah.
that possible?
Totally. Definitely.
Hold on. We gotta do
Oh,
this.
Sendai.
We gotta do this one. Oh. It doesn't filter out the background on this one. Can we be I wanna be what is this painting? Man,
This
this
is,
artist is ass. Hold on, wait a second.
Mike Luangelo.
Wait, why are we oh wait a second.
Oh, you can place us in a seat.
Hold on. We gotta go
just
far
act
away from
back.
each other as possible.
This is COVID restrictions.
Oh, there we go. Oh wait.
But
This
what's
is
my head so big
crazy. Is there a urinal one? Can we like stand next to each other in the urinals?
I don't know if we want to be facing outward from the urinals, but
This is wild. Waiting to join. This is crazy. Happy Halloween. We're not even close to Halloween, are we? No.
I wish.
All right. We're gonna do the normal one. Which
I'm not gonna lie.
I don't know where the normal one is.
As
Where
far
is
as
it?
Seasons go, Halloween should be just a one-day season.
Oh, there we go.
It could be the 5th season.
Oh, there we go. Hello. Okay. What up, Mike?
What's good, dude? My lighting is so weird in here, man. I'm trying to figure that out, but it's probably okay.
I think you're glowing.
Welcome. We're just chilling.
Wait, like a villain?
We're just chilling right now. How you doing, Mike?
Good, man. How was I know it's been like a month now, but how was Nam?
Oh, that was actually pretty fun. Oh, I'm not gonna lie. I still haven't invoiced Antares for my work. Should probably
Probably do
invoice
that.
them. Yeah, I should do that today. Wow. There's just money sitting on the table. No, it was actually pretty fun. I'm happy and sad to say that I sold my Mog EQs today, and there was a few pieces that I saw at NAMM that I'm interested in trying out. So I may just play with that money as like, deposits on like demo units and stuff like that. Like, hey, I'd love to try it out. I can put a deposit down.
Oh yeah. What do you got your eye on in particular? Anything?
Well, I'm talking to Bettermaker about doing product videos for them, and possibly working out some kind of like partnership, which would be really cool, because I'm actually really interested in their mastering limiter, and I'm actually looking at a few other things too, namely the what are they calling it? The Hairchild, the Heritage Audio Fairchild recreation.
Okay.
Like, I've never known Heritage Audio outside of like some of their channel strips, like from back in the day, for being expensive, because more recently they've been creating more cost-effective, more consumer-friendly products, like the HA73 EQ Lite, or the Elite series, I think it's called. But to see them do a Fairchild was really interesting, and when I got to talk to them at the booth, like, they added some features that were really nice, including like a mix knob, which I don't see in any of the other Fairchilds. So I'm kind of curious to kind of hear it. I know that the Unfairchild from Undertone has gotten a lot of great reviews, but I haven't seen any reviews on the Hairchild just yet. So I'm really curious to try it out. They told me they could send me out a demo unit, so I'm willing to put some money down to just like demo it, not necessarily commit to buying it, but I want to hear it in a mastering sense. Like, hey, $10,000 compressor, let's put it to the test. Like, do I like my UA 670 more than the hardware, or where are we landing on this one?
Yeah, cool.
$10,000.
Yeah, think about that. Like, Mike, like, do you prefer the idea that if you were to invest that kind of money, it'd be all in one piece or in multiple pieces? Like, it's hard for me to bet 10 grand on a single piece unless it was an item that for sure just brings clients, like a C800. Like a C800 I can understand for like a studio if you're a commercial studio, but not for a personal studio unless you're really already successful and can afford it.
Yeah, man, I've just avoided any outboard gear to this point and so I would, if I had a budget of 10 grand to invest, I probably at this point where I'm at right now would not put it into a single piece of gear. But you know, never say never.
Yeah, I'm looking for a beast set of monitors. I'm thinking about doing another like round of monitor journey, not to get out of the Strauss, but just to hear more that's out there. So I'm like trying to figure out like not how to spend this money, but rather how to playfully use it to experience more things on the market.
Totally.
Recently I watched an episode. JHS Pedals has a YouTube channel that's really great. And I watched an episode of their podcast show thing yesterday where they're like, guess the pedal. And so they have the original expensive pedal versus like the clone, like the $30 clone. And this professional dude guessed 2 out of 3 of them wrong. He said the more expensive one is that one, and then it was the clone both times. And one of them, the third time that he did it, was the $7,000 Klon pedal versus a $30 Klon replica. And he liked the sound better, and he thought the more expensive one was the $30 one.
I believe it, man.
Gear is dead, dude. Gear is dead.
I got the Slate, the Slate M1 or whatever that mic is. I've been using it since I started recording. Never used another microphone. I've never used any of the mics that it's modeled off of. And I have no intentions of buying any more mics. At least, I mean, honestly, it'd be nice to have some options, but yeah, it's wild, man.
Hey, yo, Mike, is it possible for you to turn your microphone up just a little bit more?
Yeah, totally, man, totally.
Also, is your voice just that low today? Has it always? I feel like it's a little bit lower than normal.
It's lower than normal?
Do you have like a filter on?
Oh, you're talking about like his baritone.
You are very low voice today. Yeah, no, like I'm talking about like pitch, frequency.
Is it louder now?
Oh yeah, it's much louder now. Yeah.
Okay. You know what's going on is I have this I don't know what happened. At some point when I installed SonarWorks, all my internal audio stuff got all weird. Now I have to run Voice Meter, which is like another virtual audio thing.
Oh, you're on PC, right?
I've got a fader on that. Yeah.
Dude,
so it's a sample rate issue.
I think I don't know if it's from our side or from your side, but it's definitely a sample rate thing, dude. Your voice sounds really low.
Yeah, so your interface must be running at a different clock setting than Sonar is.
Well, it might be us. I'm wondering if it's us.
We can test by playing a song, Play Charlie Puth.
This is so funny.
I'm at 44.1 on my interface.
That's what it should be for us.
Oh, this is so weird, man. I wonder if it's a.
Should we restart the Zoom?
Check out my, because it's recording fine on my. I just did a test on Ableton, so the Ableton. Or the in my DAW, it's recording normal.
What if I sent you a new Zoom link? You wanna try that? Because it might be me too. I'm gonna drop the link.
How do I sound?
Someone in the live stream commented, it sounds like God, to be honest.
Actually, wait! Before we cut this off, could you say some choice godlike things about production or engineering? Like give us the 10 commandments of production.
Yeah.
Oh my God, no!
Let there be light. Let
Oh,
there be
man.
dynamics.
Let there be headroom.
It's funny.
Yeah.
I'm gonna cut it off though.
Thou
I'm gonna
shall
cut it off.
acoustically treat their room.
I'm gonna cut it off. All right, I'll send you a new link.
Yep.
That's funny though. The 10 Commandments of audio.
That's funny. All right, we're gonna try this again. Come on, Zoom. Come on, baby.
Oh, hey there, Braden.
Huh? Braden?
Yeah, because he's always like, baby.
Oh, now it's not working. Oh no. Oh no. Now it's not working at all. Ah! Hold on. Wait a second. Hold on, wait a second. I got it. Hold on, wait a second. Now we're gonna go over here to GoPro webcam. To 4K. Oh, there it is. We're gonna go 4K. Oh, there it is. Hello. Boom. Yeah, imagine his voice being super high. Okay, hold on. Invite. Copy link. Let me copy this over. Hold on. All right. Hopefully that fixes it.
I like Karibo.
You like what?
Karibo.
What's Karibo?
Karibo, this thing from Yu-Gi-Oh.
Oh. Have you seen that? You know what I'm talking about with the what is it called? The pot of what?
Pot of Greed. Yeah, you don't remember this thing?
Have you seen this? Hold on, wait a second. Hello.
It's because you have that on
Testing,
full
testing.
screen. It's not going to go up.
Draw 3.
Still weird.
Hold on, yeah, you're good. You sound fine. It's working. Hold on, wait a second. I gotta play this real quick.
Oh, you're muted.
This is super important. Lou, have you seen this before? Oh crap! I didn't mean to. I hate this. All right, here we go. Ready? Lou, have you seen this before?
I summon Pot of Greed to draw 3 additional cards from my deck.
That's not what it does.
Roll my dice. That is what it does. Pot of Greed. Draw 3. I summon Pot of Greed to draw 3 additional cards from my
there
deck.
he is.
And I summon Pot of Greed to draw 3 additional cards from my deck. Then I play Magic Force, which allows me to play Pot of Greed once again to draw 3 additional cards from my deck.
You know he's right. And I attack and I win, right? You
No.
don't have any. Well, you don't have any monsters, and my
Oh, he's supposed to
monsters
be here.
have. What?
Oh, you got the Celtic Guardian.
My
numbers
turn.
are
I
bigger.
summon Dark Magician. I also summon Jack's Knight.
What? How? You can't
What are you
summon a bunch
doing?
of cards on one turn. It's against the rules.
You never saw this coming. I summon Pot of Greed to draw 3 additional cards from my deck.
That's not what it does. It doesn't
That
do
is
that.
what it does.
It doesn't- I play
That's
Michael
what.
Jordan
That's what it
in
do,
attack
Yugi.
formation.
That does what it do.
Yugi. I summon Pot of Greed. Oh man.
That is the most.
Have you seen that
If
video?
I had to play that guy online, I think I'd be like so frustrated.
Have you seen that video? Either of you?
No.
Nah. Is that like a lot? Was it from?
It's from YouTube. I don't.
No, I know.
Pot
I
of
guess
Greed.
what's the context? I guess.
Oh, it's Yu-Gi-Oh. They're playing
It's like
Yu-Gi-Oh.
the people playing it.
Yeah, and Lou has a Pot of Greed bucket hat.
And a Karibo pin.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
What up, Ronald Chavez Music? Hello,
Yeah.
welcome to the Mixing Music Podcast. Yes.
This is Karibo. It's like this ugly little thing. That's what I'm wearing on my shirt, except he's got wide eyes for some reason.
Dude, Karibo is just what I have a Karibo on my head today. Anyway, let's get started. What did we want to talk about? What did we talk about? What did we talk about wanting to talk about last time?
I think you had mentioned just like the recording process.
Let's do that.
Okay.
Like
This-
step by step from booking to recording and how that goes.
Yeah. Do you think, man, like
Thanks for following Phantom Hip.
You know,
What-
most of the people listening, are they probably like what do you have like I guess a finger on where they're at in their process, or are we?
Oh, you're still low. Can you turn up your volume on your microphone by chance still?
Yep. Yeah. Let me
Like,
try.
I wonder if you can turn on like automatic gain via Zoom audio,
Let me try.
so that way you can record at a lower.
audio settings here.
Yeah.
Auto. Oh, suppress background noise. Maybe low. Is that?
You don't want to you don't want to suppress the sound of that ISO booth. It's already isolated enough.
I don't know what's going on with the chip volume. How's that? Is that a little louder?
Oh, that's better.
Okay, there was a fader in Zoom that was turned down.
Ah,
Okay. Huh.
we're
yeah,
all Focusrite 2i2 and MXL 990s.
Bro, that was my first mic. Was the MXL 990.
Yo, I really didn't mean to laugh in a mean way, but like it's just really funny that like that's comedically like an iconic duo.
Yeah.
Like I can't stress enough how many times like a producer has told me like, hey man, I need you to mix this song. Like the vocalists, like they don't really got the greatest setup. You know, they got one of them MXL mics, those like 911s. I was like, you mean the 990? They're like, yeah, whatever it's called. I'm like, you went with 911?
So hold on, did that work? Did you turn on the automatic gain function thing?
Let me look at the settings here.
It's just a checkbox that says like automatic gain, just right underneath the microphone settings.
I should order it.
Okay, I'm in the audio. Is it in the audio settings dialog box? Automatically adjust microphone volume. That one.
Yeah.
Okay, that's checked on now. How's that sound?
Oh, much better.
My God. Hello.
And there's no more like pitch issue.
No more pitch issue.
Oh, amazing. I remember last time there was some weird stuff. Like I had to go through the webcam mic. It's always something, you know.
Yeah. All right, let's do this. Let's talk about the recording process, and we could talk about and obviously we'll like contribute as well and talk about our recording processes. But I'm wondering if I'll let you kind of determine the direction we go into, whether we stay like client focused and like how we can better
Totally.
better serve the client through amenities or different things that we do, like part of the service that are very specific to you, or if it's like a generalized thing of like what to expect in a recording thing. It's up to you.
Okay, cool, man.
I'd love to go deeper than wider, though.
Definitely. Yeah.
Cool.
Like,
Okay, so let's get rolling. I'm gonna start recording on my Pro Tools. Pro Tools is recording.
cool. Yep, I'm rolling on my end.
Zoom is
Recording in progress.
Okay. Let's sync up. If you can clap on 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. All right. I'm just reading the comments, straight tripping. All right, here it comes.
Oh, wow.
What?
After you said that, I read the comments.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
Here it is. Here it is. Hello and welcome back to the Mixing Music Podcast. I'm your host DK, and with me, as always, is Lou. We're slowly just giving up on the nicknames.
Oh my god.
Pot of Greed Lou.
Oh, that's not even an L.
That's not even any sort of alliteration at all.
I mean, you could say la 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 loving you, Lou.
Is it called alliteration when it's like I think that's what it is. I'm mistaken maybe.
I don't know. Maybe we can say my name is Gary and just call me Gary the Giraffe.
Yeah, my co-host Gary
The giraffe.
We just go totally different.
It's
Totally.
like, wait, what happened to Lou? Like all the podcast listeners, not YouTube, just podcast listeners are like, wait a minute.
I'm not gonna
Who's
lie to you. That's
Gary?
my favorite. That's my favorite nickname to date. Just like totally scratch the Lou thing and just
Just
who the hell
Gary
is
the
Gary,
giraffe.
and then just giraffe. It's like two G's, but they're not even the same sound.
Gary the Gargoyle?
Okay, that's two hard G's. But Gary the Giraffe, that killed me. All right, we're and today we have a special guest. Thank you for joining us on the show. He is a mixer. He is a vocal producer. He is a recording engineer all the way from Washington. Sendai Mike.
Thanks for having me on, guys.
Yee, you're from Washington, right? Not Oregon.
Yeah. Washington, Seattle.
Okay, that's right. Because I don't know what it is. I'm an idiot, and I always Oregon, Washington to me are just interchangeable.
I mean, it's everything's so spread out. If you're never up here, it's just it's just a bunch of trees basically. It's nice though.
I would love to go to Washington. Is Washington the state where there's no sales tax?
That's Oregon. That is.
Oh.
Shit.
I'm not gonna lie, but that sounds enticing.
Wait.
That sounds really enticing.
Is keep Oregon weird? Is that Oregon or is that keep Seattle
That's
weird?
That's Portland.
That's keep Portland weird. Wait, Portland
Yeah.
is Oregon.
Yep.
What the heck? What? Okay, hold on. Washington has the big sky tower, the Tokyo
Needle.
Tower.
Yeah.
What is it called?
Space Needle.
It's the Space Needle, not
Yes.
Tokyo Tower.
I don't know where DK's head is today, but it's physically here.
But welcome. Thank you so much, Mike, for joining the podcast and for engaging in our stupid banter.
We don't mean to downplay it, but yeah.
But Mike, we love you, and you're a wonderful vocal producer, engineer, and I know you make a lot of content. You may have heard of Mike from Twitter, TikTok, YouTube. He's posting content all the time. I think you're really grinding TikTok recently.
I'm trying to just get a couple videos out a week, man. I mean, it's not the everyday thing like it should be, but just getting a couple out a week is where I'm at right now.
But yeah, I think like with content, the grind is just consistency. I feel like making the content itself isn't that hard. It's more about like the ideation of what to talk about and like doing the tedious work of just posting it. It doesn't actually take that much effort, I feel like.
I feel like I think the ideation is the part of the effort that it takes. You know what I mean? Like, because I'll be honest, like I sit in my office, I'm like, I should make a video. There's a million things I can talk about, but I can't think of one.
right.
I can't think of one. Yeah.
Also,
yeah.
Also, if you're listening to the podcast right now and you are wondering what the heck me and Lou look like, or maybe what the heck Sendai Mike looks like, we stream the podcast recordings every Monday at 2 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, or you should subscribe to our YouTube channel. You can go to mixingmusicpodcast.com/YouTube. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. One of our most recent reviews on Apple, they left a 5-star review and they said how awesome the podcast is, and then made a comment about how much DK did not look like what I thought DK would look like, but Lou looks exactly like what I thought Lou would look like. And
he said good on that, and I was like,
what does that mean?
Thank you?
Is that a compliment? Like, you look exactly what you sound like.
It's like, I hope it's handsome. I really hope it's handsome. My mom says I'm handsome.
Oh man, this is a good episode already. But today we're very blessed to have Mike join us on the podcast, and we're gonna together, all three of us, we're gonna talk about the whole recording process from contact to sending them the file, completing that, and maybe even like follow-ups and going beyond that. But Mike is recording artists every single day. He's got a great booking system, and he's quite busy. And Mike, I know that you got some systems going on, and I know that you, like, this is at this point, it's kind of like a job for you. It's a gig. It's pretty like it's regular. You don't have to do too much. Yeah, like kind of clock in, clock out, which is a great place to be. I wish everybody was like getting paid clients every day, just clocking in, clocking out. But so I mean, you've got it figured out. Where does the process start for you for new or maybe even existing clients, wherever you want to start?
Yeah. I mean, I think it's important. Like, I guess, just even like before we jump into the actual like what it is about the recording, like the thing that I'm doing specifically is vocals over in the box production, and that I guess that's the market for that is just exploding right now. So that's sort of my niche, and I think the process around that is fairly specific, and it's suitable for like short hourly sessions. So most of the people that are coming to me, they're booking between 2 to 6 hours to record over pre-made instrumentals, just vocals. And it's I guess what the point I'm trying to get to is like the thing that helps me retain those people for years and years and years isn't necessarily the same things in recording them that if they were like a high level vocal talent with large budget. Like, the process for recording that is a very different process than recording an emerging artist on a time constraint, on a low budget. And that's kind of the niche I've found myself in, I guess. Have you guys, I mean, what's it looking like in LA? Like, are you guys recording? It seems like everywhere there's more and more people with just less musical experience coming into studios.
I can't speak. This is interesting. First off, I haven't been in the recording industry for like decades, you know?
Right.
I'm still finishing up my first decade, which is, so I think that there's other people that can speak on that more and more as far as like over the decades and over the last like couple generations. I have noticed that ever since I moved to LA, less people have, and we're talking about musical experience, not recording experience, which is separate.
Right.
But there's a lot more people in LA that are trying to be artists that have never done music before than there was in Utah. Like, in Utah, nobody's ever been in a recording studio before because it's a small town, but everybody that wanted to come in had a lot of musical experience and beyond just singing, which is a very interesting thing. We do get a lot of clients that get a beat and we're just trying to keep them in pitch and like help them find melodies.
Exactly. It's been one of the most interesting things for me for recording like this. It's really like an emerging and ever growing segment of the recording market. Because it used to infuriate me when people would come in and they're like, I want to do 6 songs in this hour, and we're just one taking them. And it used to make me so mad, or not mad, but I used to fight that, you know, I used to fight it. But I've just come over the years, you know, to like, I just lean into it. You know, there's everybody's at a different point. You know, some people are just trying to do high volume, and the process for recording in that situation, it's very different in terms of how we're making decisions and how we're moving between takes. It's entirely different than, you know, another artist who might book the whole day for just tracking their song. And so I found in recording, you know, it served me from a business perspective, I guess, to just meet the clients exactly where they're at in terms of what they're trying to get done. And I really try not to impose my own methodologies unless it's going to be helpful and they're receptive to it. But I really try to meet the clients where they're at for their recording styles. Do you guys, like, I guess, you know, I've never spent any time in commercial studios, never worked with other engineers. Do you guys have like pretty, like, when you have a new client come in, like what does that typically look like for you guys?
Well, it really depends. When you say commercial, like out here in LA, commercial is more defined by a large format studio versus a production studio. Because you can say that there's like 3 classes of studios in Los Angeles. There's commercial, there's production, and then there's like writing studios. Writing
Okay.
studios typically will just be like a one mic, maybe a booth kind of setup. Production studios will maybe feature a few keyboards, but still kind of like the one mic setup. They're not really set up for like a lot of like bands or anything. And then commercial is more like, okay, you know, we could record full drums, horn sections, whatever you want to do. And in those three different stages, you actually get labels that'll book just about any of them for a well-known writing session, where I've had sessions where, you know, you might walk in with 7 different writers writing for one artist, and because of that, you've got 7 different people's, you know, recording styles to manage, and you're the one engineer. Maybe they bring their own engineer and they hop in the seat, maybe. But a good example of this is when I was recording Keisha Cole's album back in 2021. We had Brandy, Nelly, Ray J, K Forest, Tristan, and a bunch of other people like pull in writing for Keisha's album and kind of coming up with concepts, but all of them work very differently from each other. So it was a matter of being adaptable to your clients. It's so similar to your situation where it's meeting your client where they're at. It's very much the same here, except that you don't know if it's going to be, sometimes when you're working on a commercial level, you don't know if you're working with just that artist, but typically not. There's usually a posse of writers or producers that are involved in the process. And you have to be able to match or, you know, excel past their expectations of their own process. If you can't match it, a lot of times next time you see them, they'll probably bring their own person.
Yeah, in those situations when there's multiple writers, like, are they asking for your feedback at all, or is it?
Sometimes it depends on your relationship for sure.
Yeah, most of the time, default no, default absolutely not.
Default, yeah, exactly.
Like you can get kicked out.
Totally.
Yes, but once again, it goes back to the relationship. If you're the new guy in the room, taking on a new client, for sure, they might ask you if they're cool. You know, like not saying they're not cool if they don't ask you, but like. If they're cool people, typically speaking, they might try to interact with you and build a relationship with you too. And part of that may be like asking for your opinion and seeing how you respond to things.
So this is interesting. Let's separate the conversation like this, because I do think like having like a commercial label funded recording vocal production session is different, and the expectations are very different from like home studio, like grinding every single day. Not even home studio, but like more personal relationships. Like, for example, most of my clients are still not label sessions. They're mostly independent artists. So we'll talk about like independent artists versus label artists, which is a totally different thing when you have like the producer and the songwriter in the room versus like what I'm doing, from what I understand you're doing and what I've always been doing. And what most people in the industry, freelancers, are doing is with independent artists. Let's start with that expectation there. Where for you, Mike, what is kind of, how does it start? So they book a session on your website or through an app, or like how do you have it set up?
It's on the website, and it's entirely open, so anybody can book at any time. They don't need to know me. They don't need to contact me prior. And it's just first come, first serve for open sessions, basically. And so I get
and how many hours a week do you dedicate to being open?
About 30 hours a week of sessions. That's about the max. That's about the max that I feel comfortable doing and giving everybody like a high level of service without, too much ear fatigue and all that.
I assume you do other work outside of those 30 hours, but those 30 hours are specifically with client recordings.
Yep.
How much time do you spend in total working, and what's your other hours spent on typically?
It's gone down a lot over the years. I come in probably between 40 and 50 hours a week now. And on the other days, I'm making content. I'm doing mixes for people. I'm doing revisions for people. And just admin stuff. It's just a one-man operation over here. And, I outsource a little bit, but a lot of the admin stuff, I'm still just handling on my end.
Perfect. That's actually really great insight. All right. So let's say they book a session with you. You go get them from the parking lot, walk them up. What's it look like for you?
Oh man. Well, if I know them, and most of the people I'm working with, I've been working with for, a long time at this point. So typically most people that are coming in, I've been working with them for a lot of times years. And so we just get right into it. It's like we're not like we're not even like they're going straight in the booth. I'm loading the beats and we're recording. Like I'm just doing sessions back to back to back. So it's the timing is tight enough that it's straight to work basically. If I don't know them and it's their first session, it's basically the same. And I just, I ask what we're getting into on the way up. And, but I'm in a situation where most people know what I do and they're booking me for this very specific thing. They want to come in and they're recording a number of songs in a short period of time.
So this is great. We talk about this often on the podcast. One, what percentage of your clients is returning versus new? Like every week on average? Every
week, I would say it's probably, right now, if I do 12 sessions a week on average, one or two of them might be brand new, and the rest I've been working with for quite a while.
So
Nice.
It's interesting. So for us, we've talked about this with clients versus customers and whatnot. But it's fair to say it's returning clients, not first-time clients. It's returning clients that make you the most amount of money.
Totally, yeah.
Yeah, and so, and on top of that, you become more efficient. You're able to better serve them and whatnot. What are some ways that you find that's really important in order for customers to return?
Right. So this is something that I've been thinking a fair amount about because it's like making the song sound as good as possible in what I think sounds good is not always the thing that is going to retain these folks as clients. So typically, like I'm thinking about three things usually. Like the person, for them to return, ideally they're going to believe that I really like their music, or at least respect them as artists. That's a very important thing.
They want someone to be on their team.
Exactly.
They don't necessarily. That's so interesting. Your point number one is not about whether or not you have the right plugins or the right equipment. Point number one is, am I able to get excited about their music, and can they see that excitement? That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's awesome. I love that.
I think,
true.
and they also have to, in terms of client retention, they have to feel like they're getting, they have to feel like they can afford to come back. So wherever you lie in the scale and efficiency in the market, they have to feel like you're a good choice. Because it doesn't matter how much they like you or how great the mix sounds if they can't afford to come back to you the next week. And so that's a thing that I don't expect everybody to, obviously charge as much as you can for your services, but there's a point here, and where they have to feel like I feel like I like to make people feel like they're getting a good value for what they're paying. And then the third thing, obviously, is they have to like how it sounds. They don't like how it sounds, then none of the other stuff matters.
Of course.
And it's it's how they have to like how it sounds, not even me. Because I find, especially in hip hop now, I ask people for references, and they give me the worst sounding music I have ever heard in my life. So it's really bizarre. It's really bizarre. But as long as they like the way it sounds, and I'm always asking, even if I think it sounds good, I'm always asking for that feedback of, how do you feel about this effect? How do you feel about that? And some people just trust me to do it, but even when I think it's good, I like to get their approval so that they can feel like they have agency and control in the situation. And I'm shocked a lot of times at the decisions people make, but I'm happy to oblige.
So I think that those 3 points are extremely important, and I think they're very true. I'm sure that we both have experiences with this. Lou, I want to ask you, and I want to rewind and go back to the point that you made about returning clients versus new clients. Mm-hmm. I wonder if people in the audience or people listening to the podcast or subscribe to the YouTube channel have ever thought that the secret to going full-time in music is increasing the volume of new customers. It's not. I want to be very, very clear that how you go full-time in music is by creating a large pool of returning clients. I'm not talking about like 10 clients that come back every single week. They can come back once every year or two. But if they only come back once a year, you got to have a very, very large pool. And so it's when I had every single client was returning, but when they last came was varied. So maybe they came a week ago, maybe they came a month ago, maybe they came 2 years ago. Like every single client is a returning client, but I've seen them before and won them over in whatever capacity. So I think that's the secret to going full time. And like you said, number one is like believing in their product. Artists and producers and people want, like, this is it's an art form. Like music is an art form. It's very subjective. And, like I want to go to a creative director that believes in my vision. And I'm willing to pay more for a creative director that believes in my vision, right? It's less about, can you execute my idea, but can you see the same idea that I have?
Yep.
And then we could execute together. Because either way, I, as the person coming to you, would still want to be a major part of that project. Like, I may not know what the heck you're doing, Mike, but like, if I was an artist, I still want to feel like I'm a major part of that. And I can't feel that way if you don't believe in me. And so that's number one. Then what was the number 2 point that you made? Is
it's just the budget thing, and that's specifically for the clientele that I'm working with. Like people don't have huge budgets and they have limited time frames, and so
let's expand on that. I think this is important. When we've done a couple episodes about pricing. You can go back to those episodes and how you should price your own products and whatnot. But this is super important. People always DM me and Lou, and I assume people ask you all the time, like, how do you price your services that are viable in the marketplace? Number one, the most important part is you have to compare to everybody else in your local area. If you are a recording producer, whatever, it is a locational-based services. You're not an online book me on Fiverr. You're competing against other people in the location. So if next door neighbor Lou is charging $20 an hour and he has twice as much gear as I do and a bigger space than I do and 10 years more experience than I do, why the heck should I be charging $20 an hour? Obviously, those numbers are super low. But I mean,
I was about to say, like, if I had all that gear, I don't think I could afford it at $20 an hour.
Just an example. So you got to actually like compare. So and number two, the number 2 point I want to make about this is sometimes you lose clients because they can't afford you. Like, this was a one-time thing. They wanted to do something special for themselves by paying a little bit extra for a nicer engineer, but you know that they can't afford you, or they know that they can't afford you again the next time. Do you ever get hung up? Is it worth ever get hung up on losing clients over that?
I've kind of, in the beginning, it was a lot harder for me, but what I've done, and I've done this every single year now for 5 years, is on the first of the year, I raised my rates $10 an hour. And, I realized I started at like $20 or $30 an hour. So every year on the first, raise them $10 an hour. And a month before that, I let everybody know. And in the first few years, I let everybody buy unlimited gift cards at the old rate that they can use anytime in the future. And then over the last 3 years, what I've done is if you have met a certain threshold of volume for bookings, I let you continue booking at last year's rate. So basically, a large percentage of the people I'm working with are grandfathered in, and there's multiple levels of that going on. So it makes that's really been good because it's allowed me to retain a lot of people, but everybody booking for the first time pays the new rate, and over time, the percentage of people paying the newest rate, it expands in terms of the percentage of paying clients.
Question for you: when you increase your prices every single year, are you already booked at full capacity, like throughout the year, or do you raise it regardless of how often people booked you during the year?
I mean, because I only put 30 hours a week in the calendar, I basically work those full 30 hours every single week year round. Occasionally I'll have somebody cancel like the day before, or there'll be a slow spot at the end of the month where I'll have a session or two open.
So when you raise your prices, that you're partially, because what I don't want anybody in the audience, anybody listening to do is raise their prices every year, even though they're already booking no clients. Mike?
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, the demand has stayed exactly even for me, and this is just specific to my situation. I've been able to do this, and the demand either it stays even or goes up every time I do it. Weirdly,
So, if you don't mind me asking, have you ever walked back a price?
for hourly recording.
Just in general, you saw an increase that was suitable. Let's say it be mixing, right? Something that's not solely based on your hourly. But did you ever find a situation where you had to walk back your price?
Oh, in general, in terms of like the quotes that I'm
Sending
for
out,
mixing.
yeah. Maybe not
Um,
like immediately after a quote, but like you started noticing, like, hey, there's been a little more of a dip than I expected. Let me retract this increase.
I have done that in my mixing a little bit, remote mixing, but I'm in a situation here where because the hourly recording, I'm not relying on the mixing, the remote mixing work, to keep the bills paid, and because of that, um, there's been times, yes, but to answer your question, yes, there's been times earlier in my career when I was doing very cheap mixes, and I tried to raise my prices aggressively, and it didn't, the volume just really dropped off. But now, because I don't rely on the mixing work, I haven't really had to dial things back.
So I want to recap because you dropped some heavy gems, some great ideas. One, gift cards at the end of the year, and people can buy unlimited at the old price because usually at the end of the year, especially during the holidays, there's a decrease in bookings. So it's like slower season for the audio recording industry. Typically, maybe not for you, but typically, right? So it's a great idea to boost that income at the end of the year and hopefully carry that over, help you over during the slow speed. And it's only $10 an hour, so you're not losing that much when you get into it. Second thing, I freaking love the ideas. If you hit a certain threshold of bookings, they get grandfathered into a price. That is a genius idea. And
I'm really not trying to punish anybody. That's I don't want to punish these people that have really put me on. Like I get to do this because they booked so much. And yeah.
That's amazing.
So the question is, where is that threshold?
Yeah, how have you discovered? What do you do it?
Oh man, I basically just looked for a certain number of sessions in the past calendar year, and there are actually there's exceptions that I've made in both directions. That it's just on personal discernment, I guess, man. It's not but there are people that if they like, I guess basically there's a certain volume in the last calendar year, and that's what I did. That's what I did last year. The year before that, it was this was the first year that I did it with any sort of systematic way. The years before that, it was just personally selective of the people that I had booked a lot and I liked working with.
Okay, and how have you discovered? Was it good? I mean, it worked well.
Oh yeah. I mean, people love it, man. And people come back, and I always, and it's weird to talk about it publicly because I always ask people, don't talk about the coupon codes. But I know the audience.
I've given people heavy discounts and then say don't tell anybody I'm giving you discounts. Right.
So there's a number of people who have these codes, and I just ask them not to share the code with other people, and if they do, I'll know who shared it. So everybody's happy, I think, and it makes I think it also helps make the artist feel like we're in cahoots. We're working together on this.
Yeah.
That's yeah. So it's like the whole cycle of, hey, I'm actually rooting for you. And then they're like, oh, they're rooting for me. I got to go with him more. So it kind of strengthens the relationship even more. That's a very strategic way of doing that. Last thing that I want to talk about, another gem that you dropped that I want to emphasize again is you give everybody notice, prices going up at least a month before, which is great. Which is great. If you do not inform people or announce that changes are going to be made, I would call that emotional theft, like borderline theft. Like, you don't want to be doing that. It's only going to hurt your brand and hurt the integrity of your brand. So anybody that's wanting to increase their prices, you have to give as much warning or as much, hey, this is going to change. I mean, all these other companies do it as well. PlayStation, when they charge for their network, or like Amazon when different prices increase and stuff. Like, yeah, it's true. You should be doing that. People are okay with things as long as they're notified. Hey, this project is going to take a week longer than I thought. So please expect to mix a week later. As long as they know what part of the process that you're in and you notify them, people usually don't mind waiting or don't mind bad news. The last thing that I want to talk about, this is an economics term. You talked about this, where we're figuring out what's in economics is called elasticity. I've talked about elasticity in the past. Elasticity is basically how much more you can increase the price and maintain the amount of customers. So it's more of like a ratio. For example, if you have a high elasticity business, for example, like Disney, let's say the tickets are $50 per ticket, they double their tickets. And so it's $100, and they went and they lost half their clients. They're still making more money because now there's less people in the park, so the lines are shorter, more happy customer service, less people that need janitor service, and less people watching the lines. So Disney is making more money, right? Because of that. But the thing is, like, this ratio, this elasticity can be like, there's a formula to discover what the elasticity is of a company like Nike or Disney, but it's hard to figure out what it is for us, because we find out if we have very bad elasticity, very low elasticity, we increase our prices $5, we lose half of our clients, and that obviously hurts us. But you've given so much value and have so many returning clients, and genuinely so busy and offer so few amount of spots and limited amount of time, that you have a very high level of elasticity. You can increase your prices every single year, and your demand doesn't change.
Granted, though, I have to add the caveat that I started at a very, very low rate. So that's the other. I'm still cheaper than most other studios.
So question. Yeah. So you started like $20, $30 an hour. I assume you're closer to like 50, 60 right now?
I'm a 70.
You're a 70. Okay, dope. Let me ask you, when you first started, would you recommend other people that are in similar positions to you 5 years ago, would you recommend that they start at a low price? Or would you recommend that they start at whatever?
I would recommend starting at whatever the market gives you. So if you come in at a certain price and people, you gotta price yourself at what's going to give you the volume to get the experience, to get to the referrals, to get more clients. And if that means going low at first, go low and then raise them as fast as you can without retaining as many people as you can. But I guess that would be my answers. It entirely depends on just what the local market is kind of telling you.
When you were booking at $20 an hour, $20, $30 an hour, I assume you were lesser known, you were a brand new business. Was the price alone enough to get you fully booked, or were you still had hours that were not filled?
It was a little bit different then, because when I first started, at like 20 an hour, I was in my bedroom recording after work. So I was doing like one session a night, basically. And then when I moved into the space, I made myself available 24 hours a day. So there were days that I didn't work, and then there were days that I worked 14 hours, just depending on, it just depended on the, so it wasn't until, and I don't have good records, honestly, man, but I feel like the weekly volume since I went full time has stayed pretty even, if not gone down, because I shrank my available hours. I started reducing the number of hours that I was available as time went on.
Gotcha. So let me ask you this, because I noticed you mentioned that you use coupons. There's something that I've done in the past. I don't know if you've done this as well. I don't know if DK's done this as well. But one suggestion that I've told people in the past is, a lot of times if you walk in and somebody introduces you as the intern, whoever they introduce you to now has a pretty long-term hold that you're an intern. I feel like part of that is also your pricing, but I don't believe that your static price necessarily is what you walk in offering a new client all the time. I'm a big fan of discounting on the way in, but making it very aware, like, this is because you're a new client and I'd like an opportunity to show you what I can do for you. Let me lower
Totally.
the cost on the first time service for you. What I've done recently is I'll give individual artists a timed coupon code where it's specifically to their name. It's only for them. Their coupon code is usually their name. And it'll last maybe 2 weeks, and say, hey, like, if you want to take up the offer, like, I can hold this offer for you for like 2 weeks. You can go directly to my website. It'll give you X amount off. This is only for you. And if relationships work out and they have a specific budget, I'll give them their associated budget worth on a code that they can use for a limited amount of time before the price has to go back to normal. I don't know if you've ever done anything like that. I noticed, like, you mentioned you have coupons for Select. I don't know how you handle, making sure whoever's paying what price can do that by booking you easily online. I don't know if you track that through like services online, or do you manually track that yourself?
Like who's booking at what rate?
Exactly. Like, do you use like any portals for that, or?
No, not really. I mean, I all the booking I do is through Acuity, and so it's all just built into there. Honestly, it would be good to look at that information, though. I haven't really, I haven't really.
I'll be honest. I do it in Acuity. I actually.
Acuity is great.
Yeah.
Acuity scheduling is what we use for the studio as well.
Yeah, you can create like unlimited coupon codes. So I do that for clients who have also grandfathered in. Like, I have one client who, whenever she books with me, I actually don't pay myself. I pay the studio for the time, and I don't pay myself the 8 hours that I work with her, just because I've been working with her so long that she's just an artist that I enjoy viewing how she's been growing, But she's the only one that has that, so I actually created like a backdoor code for it.
I've got a similar situation with a couple guys, actually.
Yeah.
So I want to move on, but I do want to say something that you just said. We're going to come back around to it.
Sure.
You said that you pay the studio, but you don't pay yourself. What does that mean? We're going to talk about that a little bit later and how that works for us, because that's a very us-specific thing. It might be more commercial as well. We're going to move on and come back to that idea and why that was said. Mike, let's go into the next phase. So let's say the recording goes well. You send them the file. Everything's paid. Or what? Is there anything specific that you like to do or offer during the session?
That's something I've been thinking about, of adding some more amenities to the studio, but I don't. It's really just strictly business. We're just recording and mixing and a lot of times as fast as we can, for better or for worse.
Would you say that you're pretty quick?
In the thing that in the realm of work that I'm doing, of like rap and over 2 tracks, yeah. But a full mix is going to take me a while to do on a full stem thing.
So when you're preparing a rough mix for a client, are you mixing while you're recording, or do you take like 5 to 10 minutes or however long afterwards during the scheduled time to kind of do as much as you can?
No, I'm basically, I let people know that the quality of the mix that you go home with, it's like you're going to get a mix and master for every song you record today. And the quality of that mix and master is going to be determined by the amount of time you leave me with it. So if they're just recording as fast as they can, it basically just, I have a vocal chain usually set up from another time they've recorded. I'm just doing a quick check to make sure it's hitting the compressors at the right level. If they have been working with them for long enough, I kind of know the style of effects they like, and it's already set up in their template. And then I'm just watching the meters on the master and making sure the dynamics on the instrumental are good going into the mix bus and the limiters, and then I print it. And I'll do that in however much time they give me, basically, whether it's 5 minutes or hours.
Quick question. This is more personal. Having done this full time for a while now, and it sounds like you've got like a system going where it's pretty like everything's kind of figured out. Now it's just kind of working through it. Do you ever get bored of it or get complacent with it, or like how does this fit with your personality?
I like it, man. I mean, I'm not really a people person. So honestly, I would like to just spend less time face to face with artists, and not because I don't like artists, but just because, you know, it's intense personalities and, you know, wears me out. But, no, I love it, man. Never a dull moment. And the thing that I've come to really like, you know, I think the things that used to really frustrate me, I have, you know, like people that are trying to record a lot of songs in 1 hour, or the opposite, you know, people that are so meticulous and they just, you know, they're listening for something that I can't even hear and just doing it over and over and over again. And everyone in between, every single one of those situations is an opportunity for me to meet their needs, whatever crazy needs they might have. And so that's where I find, you know, I still get a lot of personal gratification, even with the people that I might used to have thought is more mundane or boring or you know, hard to work with, if that makes sense.
Would you consider or think that your career path was pretty typical of others, or do you think that there were a few aspects that were very atypical?
You know, it's hard to say because I think my career path is, I think it's becoming much more typical. You know, basically like hip hop producer gets to know rappers through making beats, realizes they can make more money from recording and mixing, start recording and mixing. I feel like that's becoming more and more typical, just based on the current climate. And it seems like now when I look around Seattle, there are just there's more and more like little studios like mine that are just doing vocals over 2 tracks. It seems like every week there's a new studio opening. So it's really, I think, becoming more and more common that style, but it hasn't always been like that.
This is a question from the live stream chat right now from Straight Trippin'. What helped your transition from bedroom to your own space? What was that like? I assume you already had some clients who were making some money. Did you quit your job? I mean, it sounds like you did, because you went full 24 hours.
So I was formerly a civil engineer, and so I was working in a cubicle doing that.
You were making decent money.
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't getting rich, but you know, all my bills were paid.
Well, rich to who? Like a 20-year-old?
Right. You know, I had a 4-year degree to do this work. Anyways, though, the transition was like, it was a small team in the office. So I let my boss know that I would like to leave. I will continue working on this project that I was currently working on. And once that project is wrapped up, I'm going to leave. The project dragged out for almost an entire year. So I had that entire year to basically be recording people in my room at night. And during that time, I was thinking like, oh, maybe I'll go into live audio. Maybe I'll go into, you know, like I was like, I didn't know exactly what it was going to look like during that time. I thought maybe I'd go into live sound or video game audio, or I didn't even know, you know, but I just kept recording and mixing people. And then the year came up, the project almost finished, and I was like, I'm done. It's been a year. I rented this unit, and I moved out of my house, and I moved into this unit. So I worked and lived in here and just grinded it out for about 2 years until I was making enough money to comfortably like afford rent and the studio space. And so, that's sort of the trajectory. I could have moved out way sooner, but just ultra conservative, you know, from the financial side.
I can cut this out if this is private information, but just to kind of put a little perspective, how much was your salary at your civil engineering job?
I think I was making around, like when I first started, it was probably around 50, and when I left, it was probably 60 and change.
Okay, so, and how old were you at the time? Fresh out of college?
Yeah.
Okay, so you're like early 20s, making 50 to 60 grand a year. That's a decent chunk of money for like a
Seattle.
young. And which is the reason why I bring this up is because you went and jumped shipped and went full-time, or tried to go full-time into audio. Your first year, do you remember how much you made your first year doing audio only?
Like probably like 20 grand or something like that.
So you like cut more than half of your income was cut. That, like, I cannot imagine how terrifying that is. Because my experience, I think yours is similar. I've always been poor. So there was no jump down to lesser income. I've just never had any income. But for you, I know a lot of people that was the barrier. It's just so fucking scary to pursue passion, like, because you got what we say, like, the golden handcuffs. What was it for you? Were you just so sick and tired of the job, or what was it?
Incredibly depressed, just really miserable. And so it's so weird to say this, man, but in terms of transitioning, it was a fear and really just negative emotions that drove me to, it wasn't like my passion for mixing SoundCloud rappers that drove me to open the studio. It was just a fear and deep just dislike for putting on the collared shirt every day and going to that office. And the work was good. The work was good, man. Just didn't suit me, man. I went to school for 5 years and worked in the industry for 4 years. And because that was the path I was on, but did not suit me.
I wonder, I think there's a beauty to all of this. Lou, I'm wondering if you can speak of this too, but did you have to jump, or were you in the same situation that I was? Like, you built your career from the beginning.
I did a 2/3 financial cut similar to Sunback.
Okay, so you had a non-music job.
I worked until I no longer found it emotionally feasible.
But it was still, are you talking about like Ash?
No. The last job I had before, like, going full-time into audio was Recording Connection. I had just written, like, the curriculum and got
so
paid,
it's still like audio based, but it wasn't.
Yeah, but it was like, I was a liaison for the company, getting studios to partner with the company.
So that's a different story on its own, but you also had a jump.
Yeah, like, at the time I was making maybe just like Sendai. I was recording people after work and maybe getting paid on some of them sometimes. But I had to give up 2/3 of my income in order to go full time.
2/3 of your incomes. That sounds very similar.
Yeah.
That's crazy. I wonder if this has any sort of, one of the benefits. We may have talked about this on a previous episode of why you, and we did an entire episode dedicated to why you may want to keep your day job while starting your audio career. And one of the arguments that I made was the gratitude. For example, for you, it was the depression. It's like, I'm gonna kill myself anyway, so might as well doing it what I love. It's like, it wasn't, that jump may not have been that scary because depression made you do it. So I don't mean to tease you on that, but
no, it's real though.
There's and with that, I think that you both have a very deep sense of gratitude, because even now, 5-6 years later, I assume there's a part of you that's fucking grateful that you don't have to be a civil engineer yet anymore.
Oh yeah.
And go ahead. Yeah, speak on that.
Just going back, asking me if it ever gets boring, just to circle back to that again. It's like, even the worst, and I mean that with love, the worst clients, the most difficult people, I would still rather make music with them than sit in the cubicle with the spreadsheets. So it's everything's it's all in perspective, So that's the great perspectivizer for me. And if I didn't come from civil engineering, I don't think I would have been able to do this, if I hadn't come from something that I dislike so strongly.
Let me ask you, would you say that is the catalyst for your continuance in this? Or have you found something else along the way that's actually helped fuel your want to continue down the line? Because some people, they do this, they find their niche or they find their flow, but then it goes back to, it's just work.
They find something more. At first it was, I hate this, but now is it more?
Yeah.
It's honestly like, I mean, I've grown. It's like it's becoming more enjoyable, if anything. Like even the difficult people, as I get better at working with them, there's everybody when they're coming to the studio, you get to see them at their best. Like usually, this is like a luxury service for them. They're in a good mood, they're coming to make their music, and they're happy. And if I can help them do that, like it's a big for a lot of people, it's like, this is like they feel really good about coming to the studio, and it pumps them up. And so like if I just get to feed off that energy. I don't have to worry about marketing the music. I don't have to worry about the vulnerability of putting my art into the world. I just get to help people finish their songs. It's like the best, and so I just get to feed off that, man. And that's really what keeps it interesting and fresh for me, because that never gets old for me. Is just it's fun to finish music, man. It's fun to hear it back.
And I wonder, and there's no statistic with this, right? And there's no real way to tell. But I assume it is this deep-rooted, foundational sense of gratitude that you get to do what you do. That really reflects how you are perceived by your clientele. Again, going back to your number one point of why people want to come back, which is, do I feel like my engineer believes in my art?
Yeah.
And if you coming into work every single day, really grateful that you're there in their life during, you're right, a sacred part of their day, and it's like this cycle this is a great attitude. Let me ask you, and this is my thing recently, this is in my journey of life. I'm at a point right now where I feel like I know gratitude is the answer. I know it is, right? But I have a hard time actually feeling grateful, in a non-active way. Like, I can force myself to be grateful, but how can I passively feel subconsciously like actual gratitude? Some practical practices, practical. and interesting.
I'm not gonna lie, but that's. I don't think we've ever talked about it, but that's actually exactly how I think as well. In the sense that, like you said, it's hard to be passively grateful, even knowing that you have a situation in front of you that most people would die for. Most people have a job right now that they hate, that wish they could be doing what we're doing. Part of it is going back to what we said earlier about my one client that I don't pay myself for. That's why I asked about the catalyst. Part of it is trying to find something more than just what the job is or what it is that we seek to be, but rather who we can serve in the process. If I could see growth from those that believe in me the way that, and I can find a way to believe in them as much, or show a sense of gratitude towards them by doing something that can help them, then that's honestly more than payment enough for me. Because at the very least, I don't feel like I'm taking this opportunity for granted or being ungrateful, but rather now using my resources to, I give free office hours, and I tell everybody, ask me any questions. I'm happy to teach for free. I have paid lessons for dedicated time, but the more I can help somebody, the less shitty I feel about not being passively grateful anymore, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that's
it's
great.
It's my way of actively taking on that.
Mike, I'm sure that you've had a couple sessions that you're just not in the right zone.
Oh yeah.
Not in the right headspace. And these are scary, because if you do that one time, you may lose the client, which is not even your worst fear. Probably the worst fear should be you lose the client and they don't like you so much that they put negative reviews everywhere. They talk shit about you, and you lose more potential clients, right?
Yeah.
Beyond just one person. Which is scary. And if possible, you never want to be in a bad headspace when you start working. You always want to do that. Are there any sort of rituals or traditions or things that help you get into the right headspace? Or how do you kind of maintain that every day?
Certainly not smoking weed in the mornings definitely helps. I mean, I'm a guy that smoked a decent amount of pot over my adult life, and that's something that I figured out in the first few years is if I want to run the business and show up at a high level, is I have to be pretty fucking sober and pretty pretty sharp. And obviously that's probably not a problem for a lot of people, but that's something that's definitely definitely been good for me. The things that I keep in mind, like little things, is just making sure that while I'm sitting there, if the client's in the booth, out of the booth, with me in the room, is that I try to keep physically moving with the music. And that's a huge indicator, for the client that's if they just see you just like sitting there, like not moving at all, just clicking, it's a very different vibe. So even when I'm in if I'm distracted or whatever, I try to keep moving with the music, because the clients just intrinsically interpret that as being into it and being engaged. And I've had people even say, oh, like they think that I like this part of the song more than this part or something because I move, like they're watching, they're watching for your reaction to their music. And so that's like one little thing that I try to do. And it just helps me keep, embodied in the work, and rather than like getting lost in my own, own thoughts about it.
That's a really great way to do that. Yeah, no, that's totally true. Like with clients, they totally see you do that. And again, like it's so fun. Even the hardest of hard clients, they're still fucking insecure. They want that validation. That's like a human thing, right?
Oh yeah,
totally.
And if they don't seek it at all, they're crazy. And so, no, I think that's a really great practical thing to take away if you're listening right now. Real quick, before we kind of go on to the next part of the show and kind of wrap this up, I want to thank our sponsor, the Mixing Music Podcast.
Oh shit!
If you're interested in hearing 3 times the amount of episodes, so instead of one episode a week, every single week, you want 3 episodes every single week, all you have to do is go to mixingmusicpodcast.com/exclusive. And that will get you 2 extra. You sign up for the exclusive episodes, you get 2 extra episodes a week, and they're all specifically technical tips. So we take clips from other engineers, other producers, and talk about their tips that they've shared, and we expand on that. It's been really, really helpful. We have a bunch of subscribers already. Anybody that is subscribed to whenever we do giveaways, we have like special discounts and special things for anybody that is involved in that community. Go to mixingmusicpodcast.com/exclusive if you're interested in that. It's $4 a month or $40 a year. It's less than a cup of coffee every month, once a month. So, so thank you for anybody that is already subscribed. But we want to move back into this real quick. Mike, this has actually been extremely insightful of not just how you've grown your career, but as well as how others can take away from your career and grow that themselves. Is there any major mistake that you've made during your career that you'd hope others would avoid?
Oh, major mistakes. I mean, there's plenty of small mistakes. I'm trying to think of any.
Or the biggest mistake. Maybe it's not major, but the biggest mistake that you're willing to share.
I think, like fighting this is kind of a general, but like, I think trying to fight what's going on, is and I know that sounds really vague, but in a session, trying to fight the flow that's happening, that is going to be the thing that exhausts you and burns you out. If you have people that are difficult to work with and you're trying to corral them or in one way or the other, if you don't do that in a way that's serving them and you're doing it for the convenience of your own work, it's going to burn you out. And that's something that I definitely experienced in working with people. I don't know if that's clear, but you got to work in a way that's going to serve both you and the artist, in a way that doesn't burn you out. And I think that happens to a lot of engineers, is they're fighting the flow of the session to serve their needs. And it's a quick path to burning out.
Lastly, the last question I want to ask before we end the episode is do you foresee yourself continuing to record for 30 hours every week, or do you foresee yourself in the future, sometime in the future, transitioning over to mixing completely, or doing something else, or doing more hours, whatever it is? How do you see yourself transitioning and expanding, scaling over the years?
I mean, I've been talking about this for years, man, but it's I really got to get somebody else working in here because I don't want to work any more than I already am in terms of face-to-face hours with clients. I'd like to work a lot less face-to-face hours with clients so that I can be better for the fewer people basically, and have other people working in here, and giving them a similar system. You know, that's ultimately my goal, is to give. I have this system that works a specific way for a specific type of client, and I want to be able to give that system to others to work here and to just ultimately have the business serve way more people, and without me personally having to be face to face with so many people.
So you foresee yourself not necessarily moving into a different form of the art like mixing or mastering, but you see yourself scaling by training others and having it become a lot more passive. So you can then have the time and able to
mix. Yeah. I still want to mix. I enjoy mixing. I enjoy mastering. But I don't want to do either of those like all day. I don't want to do anything all day, every day, you know? So that's kind of where I see things going.
Cool. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining us. I think this was actually a really, really great episode, a super insightful episode for anybody listening. It was for me, and it's kind of triggered my brain and how we can incorporate some of the things that you were talking about for our studio. Thank you so much, Mike. Where can people find you?
Oh, SendaiMike.mixing on Instagram, SendaiMike on TikTok, SendaiMike, on the internet.
Shoot me a
DM, get in touch.
Sendai Mike.
And they call you Senpai Mike.
Yeah, you're not the first. I get that every now and then. Yep.
Senpai Mike.
I'm at least happy that it puts a smile on your face. It hasn't gotten to the point where he's like, ugh.
Hey, well, thank you so much for joining us. Please hit up Sendai Mike if you're interested in pursuing a recording career and would love some advice. Once again, that's at SendaiMike.mixing on Instagram. Sendai Mike, just type in Sendai Mike, you'll find him. Really, really great dude. He's more than happy to answer your questions. Thank you so much for joining us. Anything else that you want to say? Any last advice for anybody that's listening?
Not particularly, man.
What about a favorite joke?
So then on that note, happy mixing, my friends, and stay saucy.
Oh,
there it is. That's perfect.
let me respond.
Recording stopped.
Well, that's perfect, dude. Yeah, dude. If you ever want to talk about how we have scaled and trained people and created systems and ways to entice customers to try different engineers, but we take a cut of it. We're more than happy to talk about that because that's what we do. Like, Lou and I are mostly passive from our recording.
Yeah. That's awesome. Yeah. So
but
you guys,
it's a very different thing.
It's mostly renting the room to other engineers, basically.
One is renting the room to a different group of engineers and producers. The other one is still they're renting the studio. And then whether they come for Lou or I, sometimes we engineer it, but most of the time they come for one of us or the studio, and then we assign them an engineer that is trained under us.
Got you. Yeah.
So it's very similar to what you would want, like someone that's trained under you. You're basically franchising it to somebody else. Very similar in that sense.
Yep.
But yeah, that's interesting. That's actually a really good way to go about it. Dude, that's so cool that you are like, one, that you have the clientele, that you have the momentum to keep going, like 30 weeks every week, and you're booked. And two, that you're in the right headspace where you enjoy it, where it doesn't get monotonous. I think those two combinations are unstoppable.
Yeah. Honestly, I like the fact that you have it scheduled out like specifically 30 hours. Like you don't.
I don't work past 9 p.m. either. It's a set work day every day, basically the same times.
Just out of curiosity on that, is it 30 hours total time from available time, or is it 30 hours bookable total?
It's 2 to 9 p.m. Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday, Saturday. So 4 times 7 is 28 hours. And then some weeks I will, bring somebody in on a Thursday for, sometimes like I'll book people off calendar on a Thursday or a Monday. But there's 28 hours available on the calendar basically. And that generally fills it generally fills. There might be an hour gap once or twice in the week.
Gotcha.
Because I have a 2-hour minimum, but then there's a number of people with 1-hour codes, so they kind of slip in the cracks.
Oh, so you're doing like 6-7 hours every day, but you're doing 2-hour sessions, 2 to 7 hour sessions.
Yeah.
So it could be like
yeah.
4 sessions in one day, or like one long session.
Yep, exactly.
Okay, so it's varying. That's interesting. You have a 2-hour
I
minimum.
like that, and I like the fact that it starts at 2 because that still allows you the first half of the day to really kind of focus up on anything else you need to work on.
Bro, I
Yep,
wish I
yep.
did a 2-hour minimum at Cold House. I did a 1-hour minimum at Cold House, and I feel like I lost so much money, potential money. But at the same time, because of that, I was able to work with so many more people.
I want to say
Right.
because of that, like, wouldn't there be like weird gaps? Is that why you were losing so many other?
No.
potential clients?
It's not like I was booked
somebody
every
booked
day.
at 1, somebody booked at 3, somebody at 5. And
There were
because of
some
that, there were
gaps. There were some gaps, but it was more like some days I'd be booked for 4 hours at 4 1-hour sessions, and
Mhm.
some days I'd be booked at 6. If everybody was booked, I would have made double the money because I had the time to do 2 hours for everybody.
Yeah.
And schedule out 2 hours. But yeah, I never did that, and it's all right.
You know what's
Whatever.
funny? The person that bought my Mog EQs today is from Provo, Utah.
Who?
I don't know.
Oh, I probably know who they are, like very well. In fact, I could probably FaceTime them.
Let's see, actually, then. Let's go to Verb.
Anyway, Mike, how you been? This is actually a really good episode. I'm really glad that we re-recorded. This is much better.
No, man, I'm super. Last time, man, I don't know what that. Speaking of where my head was at, man, I just was not. My head was just not. Not forming coherent thoughts.
No, you're all good.
Cordner?
That's what it says. Randy Cordner.
C-O-R-N-E-R? I don't know who this is. I have no idea who that is.
Oh, he's from Provo, Utah, and you don't know him? Are you really a Utah boy?
Yeah, for real, I don't know who that is.
How dare you? Don't you know I know everybody in Mexico?
Yeah, well, I mean, if they do music, that like changes, brings it down to like 12 people in the city of Provo.
No.
Like,
But it was just really interesting to see that because yesterday somebody made me an offer for my 500 series rack, which means all my 500 series aside from the API is going to be gone. But the rack is staying for now. I'm like, I might hold on to it to test out like 500 series units until I'm completely done with
hey,
it.
you know what you should do?
Mm-mm.
You know how you raffled off your Midas 500 series?
Yeah.
That was almost 2 years ago now.
Holy shit, you're right.
At this point, you should be like, yo, hey, deal's off. I'm just going to sell this.
Nah, I should just hit him and be like, here you go, bro. Like, I don't know why we haven't talked about this, but like, this shit's been my storage room for like 2 years.
That's funny. Anyway, Mike, thanks so much for joining us.
Yeah, hell yeah, appreciate you guys having me.
We were in the
on.
right headspace this time for sure.
Yeah.
Lots of good comments from the chat too.
Nice. I'll let you guys know, man. Next time I'm down in LA, I'll probably be down there sometime in the next year.
Hell yeah, let's fucking go.
And you got to come up to Seattle sometime, man.
I know, for real. I'll go up to Oregon. So I'm just kidding. No, yeah, I do want to. I got to do some hikes. You got to take me on some hikes. I was saying,
Oh hell yeah, man.
talking about like the lack of gratitude from like have always been doing it. I have lived in Hawaii. I have lived in Utah and now LA. And I have gone hiking 0 times in all of those places.
Oh man.
I like went to the hiking capitals in like the US in 3 places. Not a single time. So I think it's something, it's like, but at the same time, when you live right next to the beach, you're not that excited about going to the beach. You know what I'm saying? Like it's extra
Yeah,
special when you
yeah.
don't live near the beach. So
Actually, you know what? I've been telling Anna I want to move closer to the water, specifically
so you
because
don't want to go as much anymore?
No. I actually would go live by the water just so I can lay in the sand when I'm feeling stressed out.
Oh yeah.
That's it. That's
Dude,
all
why
I
don't
want.
you just buy like a sandbox?
Because that's not it. Fuck that.
Dude, just do like a sandbox on top of like a little stove.
just
So you
have, like-
heat up the stand. You have like a little fire pit underneath
Just have my
the
niece
sandbox.
and nephew with the hose spraying me with the hose.
Heat up the sandbox, right? So you
we're
got
in LA.
warm
We don't have
sand. You
to heat
bury
it.
yourself in warm sand. That's fucking therapeutic.
Dude, we're in LA. We don't have to warm it up. It's already warm.
Fuck. Yeah, that's true. Dude, I think I got 2 shades darker from laying in the pool yesterday. Like, for like 30 minutes, I got 2 shades darker.
I'm not gonna lie, but you know what I do take for granted of being in LA? Like yesterday, we went to a brunch thing. I don't know if you saw my Instagram.
Brunch? No, just kidding.
Brunch? LA
Who
has
does
brunch?
No, just kidding. Yeah, what's
No,
up?
but it's actually a Cirque brunch. And it was a burlesque Cirque brunch.
What the heck is Cirque?
Cirque, not circus, but like a Cirque as in many,
Sounds sexual.
No, it's not. Knowing me, it sounds like something I'd go to, but it's not sexual.
You said burlesque, and so it's
burlesque.
clowns.
Burlesque is more of a
Is it a
culture
bunch
than
of
it
freaks
is about
doing
sex.
burlesque? Is it a
Well,
bunch of
actually,
freaks?
there were
What is a Cirque? I'm just thinking Cirque
So,
du Soleil.
there's a host, and he was like in like clown white face kind of thing. But like there was like fire going into mouths, fire spitting and all that. There were aerialists. There was a clown in a
An
really scary.
aerialist.
Yeah, there was a clown in a really scary costume doing really funny, weird things to people. He actually handed me a
Dude, that's like
a
an aerialist
receipt
is just
folder.
like a stuntman, but it's like it's me calling myself. I'm really just like a vocal producer.
they're all gone.
Calling myself an audioist.
But no, it was
audio engineer. Is it?
it was really funny because like he handed me like like they hand you your receipt in the restaurant and all that. But when you open it, like after this creepy clown hands it to you, I open it. It's like go home, love, eek. I'm like,
Love what? So it's a
The
bunch of
clowns-
freaks doing burlesque. So that's
well, the clown wasn't doing burlesque, but no, they had like this guy who's one of the headliners at the Magic Castle doing magic, and we messaged him and he invited us to come to the Magic Castle with him. We also had entertainment from like one guy who lit a Burger King hamburger on fire and spun it on an umbrella.
dude. What am I doing? Living my life as a freak for free?
Yeah,
I gotta get paid for this shit.
Yeah, but it was $75 per person. I took my sister and my fiance as like a mutual birthday celebration because my sister's birthday is July 4th. Anna's is on the 22nd. So we all wanted to go to this thing, but only to arrive there and it's like bottomless mimosas brunch in the middle of like Hollywood. It was just awesome. But this is like not even a weird thing for LA. This is normal. Like I need to go to more of these things. Like I just stay in my studio.
The freakiest shit I do is I'll sit down and like binge whole season of an anime show and go through like 3 bags of chips. That's freaky enough. Do you think I could get paid for that?
I don't think they have enough showtime to watch you watch 3 seasons of an anime.
I'm teasing. Mike is just hanging out, just laughing at our stupidity. I'm gonna make some bean juice. Is that cool? Would you like the bean juice?
You talking about coffee?
Yeah.
Good. Because I don't want to know what bean you're milking or juicing.
You got some bean juice, dog? I got some bean juice. Shit, dog.
Sounds like you're talking about your egg's yolk. Ugh. Ugh.
Oh man.
But I think I need a top.
Hey,
off
Mike.
Juice.
Mike, I'm gonna let you go. Thank you so much for joining us.
Y'all, appreciate you. Stay
Peace.
safe out there.
All right.
Later.
Bye. Hey, oh shit. Oh, hello.
Oh shit. Oh hello.
Hey, I'm gonna go make us some bean juice. But while we do that, can you entertain the audience for a moment?
Sure. I was thinking about taking my shirt off.
I'm gonna
playing-
give you what I make for myself, which is delicious. Okay.
I'm kind of scared.
No, it's still. What am I gonna do? Fart in your juice?
Maybe. I don't know what you like in your cup. Some people like Folgers, some people like farts. Who knows? But let me see. Yo, Straight Tripping. 1, awesome name. 2, typically when an engineer is hired as like a third-party provider for a studio, they'll get either like a fixed rate of whatever their agreement is with the studio, or sometimes some local studios will do like, hey, I'll give you like 30% of whatever they book for if it's like a variable rate studio. But more typically than anything like in LA, like you'll see some engineers like that are really hungry take like $20 an hour for an engineering gig at a local studio, and those guys are usually getting like the midnight shifts and all that. Then you see like a decent starting wage being like $25 an hour, and keep in mind this is all LA, but like DK and I are in like the 50 plus an hour kind of rate. We're dealing with like booking minimums, and like if it's below a certain rate, we usually won't take it. With that said, like I mentioned earlier, there are people who want to help and support artists that they really like. Like yesterday, there was a artist named James Barr who I was introduced to by a good friend of mine, Jonah, who is playing keys for them. But I'm going to be engineering their concert tomorrow. But we did like a tech run yesterday. You know, they paid for the studio. I didn't pay for myself. I actually really liked his music. And because of that, I just wanted to be involved in it. So the cool thing is like these rates are completely flexible as far as like how you're getting paid if you were to work for a studio as like the extra helping engineer. But it's not always going to be, you know, the most desirable rates. It really ultimately depends on who you're working with, how they pay you out. Ooh, looks like some of the screen went somewhere. Maybe.
Say hi, baby. Say hi.
Hello.
Hi.
Hello.
Say hello, Uncle Luke.
Hello.
All right, I'll be right back.
Let's see. I love the Mixing Music podcast. Oh, I thank you, Nate on the track. I don't know why it took me a while to read it. I wanted to call you Nation. In fact, that sounds like a Pokemon. You'll be known as Nation, the track. Mueve la colita, DK. Mueve la colita, DK. Mueve tu colita, lita, lita. Mueve tu colita, DK. I don't know if that's like the grind your beans. Oh God, everything we're saying about this just sounds bad. Bean juice, grinding your bean. Oh,
Making the bean juice. Making the bean juice.
is this the reggae version?
Making the bean. This is very aesthetic right now. This room is very aesthetic.
I don't know. I'm liking this hat. I don't typically wear a lot of colors, but I don't like this hat.
I agree. It's a good.
It's like
because
mint
you wear
green.
black. Because you wear black, it's a nice pop. Because you wear black, it's a nice pop of color.
Neon is actually an artist. Neon or Nyan, or how do you say that? Could you write the pronunciation of that? I don't know. Oh, so I'm gonna be creating a remix as a feature artist on Ishvatal's record, Foreplay, and I was thinking, I'm like, you know, I can't just be putting out like features as Luis Lou Moreno. It's a little long on the tongue, so I had to come up with an artist name, and I'm wondering, featuring the Pot of Greed.
No, just be named Your Mom, featuring Your Mom.
Featuring your mom. I don't think anybody would want me to feature that because of that. They'd be like,
My
"Yo,
artist-
nobody's gonna take that song seriously."
That's like when back in like Halo days when we were playing Halo online.
Yeah,
We
and
would
their
change it to like
username-
Your Mom.
Yeah,
So it's like you were killed by your mom. You're betrayed by your mom.
no,
Your mom is on a killing spree.
but it was funny because I was talking about it with somebody in the intern staff. We were coming up with like a bunch of stupid names.
Oh, I gotta go. Juice is warming up. Okay, but yeah.
DK's beans are warm. Don't know what to make of that. But yeah, no, I had to come up with an artist name. So if you guys want to come up with an artist name, just comment it. I'm really curious to hear what you're thinking. But essentially, I'm just gonna be playing Talkbox on it. What name did we come up with? There was a few, like Lumo, which is just combining my first and last name, Lumo, for Luis Moreno. There was El Way, because why not? If you're Latin, you know that calling somebody El Way is like not necessarily great, not necessarily bad. It's kind of like that fucking guy, but depending on the context you use it, depends if it's good or not. What was the other one? Me and my assistant Henry, we have a group name called Los Ways del Norte, which we use all the time when we're doing sound check and we're checking all the mics. We'll just yell it out loud in the middle of a venue, and all the Latin people in the venue are always laughing because they're like, "What the fuck did they just say?" I don't know. Lou Payne could be something. It could just be a parody on T-Pain. But that's the thing. I'm not very good at coming up with cool names. I'm not gonna lie. I'm not a very cool guy. Let's just be honest. So what are y'all thinking? Like, make it sound like a Pokemon. I'm just really curious. But yeah, it's gonna be kind of interesting because I actually featured on a record with Jalen Rance, where I was the talkbox player on it, and they want me to do kind of a remix kind of thing for this record for Ishvatal called Foreplay. If you haven't heard it, definitely go check it out. It's Ishvatal, who's under the Forever the Family label, and they're actually putting out a ton of records. I know their artist Zammy's about to put out an album. They're about to have like an album release party here in LA. So if you're trying to go to like album releases, network with a bunch of dope producers and bunch of dope writers and everybody, honestly, look up Forever the Family on Instagram and just hit them up. So you produced as DK. Both of us produce and write for people. To be honest, DK is a much better vocalist than I am by a long shot, which is why I stick to Talkbox. But yeah, I've actually produced for people in the past, like I actually got cashed out on a song that was going to be used with Bryson Tiller being a feature. But the record never came out. I think the project just got shelved by the label, which happens, it is what it is, but I got cashed out, so I'm not really worried. But I know I produced the new Keisha Cole and Antonio Brown record. But most of what I do is I do vocal production. Like I was the vocal recording engineer and the vocal arranger for Keisha Cole, and I did that on the All Me record, which I just finally got my gold plaque for that, like the physical plaque, and I just hung that up in the Mix Studios in the lobby. So if you guys are ever in town and you see the studio, the plaque's just right there, right when you walk in. But yeah, I mean, honestly speaking, like a lot of my work, I either keep it down low as far as all that, like, but most of the stuff that I like to produce is I like to record and produce vocals that really make me want to feel something. Like, I'm a huge fan of like love songs and everything, and a lot of times like artists like Anthony Hamilton or Ari Lennox, or even like old school like Genuine, Tyrese, Music Soul Child made you want to feel something. Not even made you want to feel something. It's like, what is it? Art is the ability for that the artist has to pull your mind in a direction that you didn't intend it. Like there's the Carl Thomas record. What is it? I forget what Carl Thomas record this is, but when you love someone, you just gonna treat them bad. Man, I forget what the record is, but he talks about like how, I met you and I fell in love with you. You met me, you fell in love with me, but you already have a husband, you already have kids, and you have to choose them for the fact that you have a family. You can't just leave them behind for your own personal desires. But the record is so well written, so well played and produced, so well arranged, so well performed by Carl Thomas that like you can't help but want to sing along. You can't help but like feel a certain way. And those are the kind of records that I want to be putting out. I want to work on records that actually get people excited for the record in a way that they didn't expect to be. There's a lot of good artists out there, like a good example is kind of like Bad Bunny that's out there, where like they're really fun records and they make you want to party, but I don't really feel anything. Like when I hear it, like I don't feel emotionally attached or anything. And that's not necessarily not what I'm not trying to work on, but like it's also not my priority personally. DK's back with his bean juice. He juiced his beans. Let's see. I've been trying to get into songwriting. How these artists hear your ideas? Honestly, you have to have a relationship with somebody involved with the artist. It really depends. In my case, I have a direct relationship with many artists, and because of that, I can play them records or pitch an idea, and it either gets used or not. If you don't, you want to get to know the songwriters. And the songwriters also want to know like what you have to bring to their table, essentially. But it's not about who's a better songwriter or not. It's can you collaboratively work together, and can you meet each other on the same ground? If the answer is no, then it becomes kind of an uphill battle when you're trying to pitch records to new artists. You can try to go through pitch agencies, but they've got so many people submitting that your work really just gets kind of buried in the works. So building the right relationships is number one. Just focus on who it is you're trying to pitch your music to. Don't focus on being like, I want this specifically for, let's say, Chris Brown. Like, it doesn't really work like that. They have so many records pitched to them on a daily basis that you don't really know what the vibe is for that day. So just write your songs. If you feel like pitching them, find some management that that knows these people and try to have them pitch it if you don't have the relationship. But there's many independent songwriters who just pitch them directly because they have a relationship with, let's say, the engineer or the manager or the artist, and they don't really need a manager to send those out. That's pretty much that. Never Lucky, Simulation Craft, and Pawn. Is he live right now? Maybe.
Hello. Hello. Okay.
Hello.
Oh shit.
Are you trying to take the chat off the screen?
Yeah, I was just trying to get it into place and move it into a place where it doesn't bug either of us. All right. Okay. We're gonna get into. Edit your stream info. We're gonna get into the next episode. Is that cool, Luis?
Okay, yeah. But as far as you have a right to other producer beats, yeah, I do. Depending on the situation, I do that. But if you're ever interested in doing that, just hit up my Instagram at Mastered by Lou, and then we can figure something out. But I'll be completely honest. Usually, I only write for like the artists themselves more than I do for the producers. Not because it's like a distinct difference, but I'm not actively trying to be anybody's writer. It's just not my specific desired market for myself. I do like doing it, and I do it for the relationship that I have with the artist. But just as an example, I'm doing this feature remix, and I'm finishing it on time for a show because they actually invited me to perform live with them. They said if we can finish it up and do all that, they want me to play Talkbox at a show, which would be fun, and I would do it for the fun of it. But I'm not doing it because I want to be necessarily a writer.
I did that, like the last thing that I did in Utah. I played drums for a few people for the fun of it.
Oh, I'm sorry. Oh,
I'll grab some.
my bad.
I grabbed, I played,
Thank you. Oh my God, toilet paper on the ready.
but I grabbed, I did a lot of like drumming for the fun of it. So I played some drums for a few artists at a few shows. And like that was purely just for the fun of it. I didn't care to be a drummer or play drums for other people. It was just like a couple artists that I liked that was fun.
I mean, me and you actually have spilled bean juice.
But let's get into the next episode, kind of make it quick and move on. Oh, next week is going to be the Golfos episode.
Nice.
I'm going to do a giveaway with them, and I need to edit up podcast a touch. All right. Okay, let's get into it. Give me a second here. I'm just going to record into the same session, so drag it into it later. Anything that we want to talk about specifically?
I'm trying to think of the things that I did this week.
We talked about recording, which is great.
Yeah. It's so funny to see me looking up on the playback screen. Let's see. Things we did. Preparing for shows, tech writers, all that.
We could do that. That would be interesting. But what else?
Let's see. I mean, we've gone through getting records to artists before. Let's see. And that's not necessarily super the topic points we hit. We've done monitor journeys, mic journeys. When is it time to upgrade your gear?
Hold on, let me look at this too. Hold on, let me update this. Give me a second.
Yeah. Do you have like a
I have a list of things that we've done.
And things we haven't done?
Exactly. So, mixing music podcast here. Busy Works beats we've done. We've recorded. Sendai mic we just recorded. Golf Foss we already recorded. That's gonna be up next for next week. We could do Busy Works this week.
Busy Works. Why does? I know it sounds very familiar, but I'm trying to associate the name to a face.
Okay, cool. Yeah, we should do something technical. And it'll probably come out tomorrow, like an episode 4 tomorrow, unless we just do the Busy Works episode already.
I mean, that's kind of the funny thing. I'm not really sure.
Just do a promotional episode. I could pull one of the exclusive episodes with me and Braden just to like promote that. And
well, there's something I watched. I don't know if this is relevant enough. I was watching a video about like marketing material versus actual research tested, and the actual the process of testing a theory and seeing if it actually resulted in a difference that was actually tangible enough for you to spend the extra cash. Basically SMG's audio video of tone woods for like guitar cabinets. Like, oh, what actually makes the difference? Is it the tone wood of the guitar? The guy literally broke down a guitar piece by piece all the way to where he made a 2x4 guitar with the same pickups, same tuning pegs, everything. He like went into meticulous detail about how it was set
SMG
up.
did this?
SMG and somebody else that he referred that I ended up following because of it.
Huh.
But he literally took a table like this, like a workbench, and took like another table, like I said, like this, and put the bridge and the tuning pegs
just to kind of
on
take
each
away
side,
variables to troubleshoot.
all
figure out-
variables, and the tone was so fucking close. Like, I kid you not. Like, I listened to it on my monitors, and it was so damn close. I'm like, there's literally no wood. It's straight air. The only difference is there was literally no body, but it was the same electronics, same everything, same tone knobs, same capacitors, resistors, blah blah blah. Everything was identical.
That's interesting. I need to check that out.
Yeah, but
what,
they
how
also
can we
did
do
the
that
same
for an
thing for
episode?
guitar cabinets.
How can we do that for an episode though?
Well, I think part of it is like talking about, like which interface is best, which set of microphones is best. Because Sendai Mike actually spoke about how he's used his slate mic for so long, he has no interest in swapping out, even though the market might say like, yo, if you get a U87, you'll get more clients. Yet he still has no interest in upgrading. You know, when is the actual time to upgrade? And at what point are you paying for marketing versus actual tangible quality?
Yeah.
I don't know. That might be something. We can talk about the trend of minimalism. I think that's kind of an important topic. There's more people, because you see a lot of YouTubers that, like, as they get bigger, their studio gets bigger, right? But you don't see a lot of YouTubers whose minimalistic approach to their setups stays with them. Is their setup part of marketing, and what point is it actually necessary to have all that? Like, if you only do vocals, do you need 16 channels of API Neve and blah, blah, blah?
Okay, we have 3 options right now
Mhm.
that I'm thinking of. 1, we could do something technical from scratch. 2, I can pull up an old episode that's from the beginning and do like a reshoot, like bringing it up, re-uploading it, downloading the audio and just re-uploading an old archive.
Mhm.
We have enough episodes to start doing that now.
Okay.
Which would be interesting because the one that came up into my mind is like a motivational one. I did an episode. One of my most popular episodes that we did is about like motivation to how to be an artist.
Mhm.
And it's basically just like, yo, stop being a bitch. That's what the episode's about.
There you go.
I was thinking we could do something like that, kind of like just copy and pasting an old archive, call it like from the archives, whatever.
Yeah.
I could pull up for promotional sake. I could pull up like an exclusive episode, and we can comment on that too, and talk about hey, this is from the promotional stuff. If you want more of stuff like this, you can pay for it. 3 options. What are you thinking? You want to do one from scratch?
I'm
feeling like pretty lazy.
Yeah, I'm
pretty
thinking.
lazy.
I'm thinking personally from scratch, just out of the idea of maintaining separation of elements. Because at what point do you start doing more of the archive to fill in the space?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
More often. No,
Yeah.
I'm cool doing archive stuff. Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah.
I'm cool doing archive stuff. Like at this point, we can do archive stuff every single week, and it would still blow up our podcast.
Yeah.
Because we have over 170 episodes, separate episodes. So meaning we can statistically speaking, we can redo topics, and we wouldn't lose an audience. Yeah, it takes about 150 episodes before you can start doing that.
Yeah.
Or past that. But I'm not saying that we would do that every week.
Yeah.
But whenever we want to. I am feeling quite lazy. Also, I didn't brainstorm to think about this beforehand, which is my mistake.
Well, let's see what's on the web. What are hot topics?
Yeah, let's do that.
I like how you go over your cup. Instead of, yeah. That's the level of lazy you hit right now.
Let's see.
That's a good question. Do I need a console?
What?
Do I need a console?
Where is it?
Right in front of you. To the right of the suggestions.
Oh, got it.
Yeah.
Let's see. How to seat your vote. Haha. Let's see here. We can do something like this. I don't think have we done an episode on sweeping EQ?
Oh.
It could be a super short one. It could be like a
it could be
10-minute
a short
one.
one. Yeah.
You want to do that?
Yeah, let's do it.
Let's do it. I gotta pause the music for this one. Actually, no, I still should bring this up. New meeting. Even if it's just by myself, we should be doing this.
Is the video quality better on Zoom?
No, it just records without the background music. Oh, okay, fuck. That's my bad. Hold on. Give me a second.
What up, Lutz Pool? That is a funny workaround.
Recording in progress.
Hello. Okay, test. All right, here it is. Recording the audio as well. Here it is. Ready?
Yep.
Hello and welcome back to the Mixing Music Podcast. I'm your host, DK, and with me, as always, is Gary the Giraffe. That's what we did in a future episode that's going to come out later, but we're giving up on Lou nicknames slowly.
If you guys have Lou nicknames, send them over, put them on a list, give us a suggestion.
Yes. Anyway, welcome to the podcast. Today we have a very interesting episode. It might be very short. We're going to keep it short as much as we can. We're going to talk about EQ and the importance of how to use EQ properly. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
The idea that we want to start with is, you know what I've seen many people do? I've seen many people sweep across an EQ and have been taught to sweep across EQ and to cut what they don't like. We're specifically talking about cutting, not adding on this episode.
Yeah.
We're going to talk about cutting. Subtractive EQ here, which is very, very important. The power of subtractive EQ can change a track, can change a song, can change the power and the feeling and the emotions behind anything.
Oh yeah.
Do you? I know people know me for subtracting more than I boost. How much do you subtract typically? I've seen you mix a few times, but
I rarely boost, and if I boost on a bus.
got it. Interesting.
Yeah.
So we're mostly cutters.
Yeah, like if I do some form of boosting, it's usually in saturation.
Yes, amen. Same here. Which is interesting, right? So we're not saying that you have to cut, and cutting is better than boosting. We're not saying that at all. Some people like to boost way more than they like to cut. Funny story: if you boost 1K with a wide curve, and then you turn down the volume. So if you boost to 6 dBs and then you turn down the overall volume to match the volume of before you boost it, what you're really doing is just cutting the low end and cutting the high end. So
Yeah.
it's kind of like relationship is very similar between boosting and cutting to a certain degree. Anyway, but one of the reasons why I like cutting is there's so many resonances. Everything has resonant frequencies. This desk has a resonating frequency. The reason why crystal glasses kind of make tones is when you resonate them and they vibrate at that frequency that the crystal glass is made at, or whatever it is with the water filled, that's the tone that it makes. And hence why you can scream at the same frequency. So what happens is if you make crystal glass, right, and it makes this frequency, if you scream at the glass at that frequency, that's how you break glass.
I need to find a glass.
So if you
and
match the
scream at
frequency,
it.
exactly. So, but anyway, everything has resonating frequencies or like foundational frequencies. That's where like the brown note idea comes from, where like I'm trying to like push sub frequencies that resonate at the resonant frequencies of your bowels to try to get you to BM. You know, that's the idea of the brown note. Anyway,
I feel like the brown note is really just code name for bean juice.
Yeah. So anyway, everything has resonating frequencies, which is interesting because the way that your throat works and the way it comes out of your mouth. So like so the angle of the microphone affects what notes are being heard, and then the microphone and the pickup pattern of the microphone, these has resonant frequencies or frequencies that like to get are more boosted or whatever, or attenuated more than other frequencies. So it's like the combination of the vocal chain will dramatically change everything.
Yep.
The distance between acoustic guitars or like strings versus anything like that. So there's so many different things that can change the actual frequency content. And it's important to cut because not everything translates really well or works really well, especially with other tracks.
Yeah.
Because we're trying to get, I mean, we're trying to get tracks to work with each other.
Yeah, exactly. And a lot of times, most people, when they're cutting things, they are doing it in the idea of separation, but sometimes cutting too much actually creates too much separation and actually takes away from the track. For instance, like some people will cut the frequencies that they don't like, but if you think about it, all right, let's say that there's a tone of voice and you're trying to shoot for like a likeness of like, let's say, I don't know, let's say somebody says, make me sound like Drake, and you take away some of their top end of their voice, but they're already kind of a muffly voice. Hey, I know that taking it away might get them to sound more like it, but you also took away their own personal character. Sometimes doing too much cutting is exactly what's wrong with the mix. Like you start hearing elements kind of thin out too much. They no longer sound natural. Not saying that natural is the best sound. Sometimes process is the right sound, but over processing is also a sound.
Exactly. No, that's a good point. We've been talking about this a lot with our interns recently, which is like overcutting, which can totally take out the personality, the body. It starts to feel hollow, which is interesting.
You ever like
but cutting
bypass the EQ that you've done and you're like, wow, suddenly better.
Yeah. So there's it's interesting that cutting is a very, very effective and useful tool, and we want to talk about how not to cut. And now I know that many schools, many engineers do this, but this is actually a bad habit, and I know that there are many people that do this that are very successful. Actually, the higher level up that I go, the less that I see people do this.
The less you see certain forms of EQ. You see EQ, but the intensity behind the use of EQ lessens with experience.
Like I see, okay, so the big thing that we're talking about is why sweeping EQ, like the seek and destroy thing, where you boost like 10 dBs of a frequency and then you kind of sweep across and then try to figure out which part sounds the worst and then cutting that out. We're going to call it seek and destroy for the rest of the episode. Seek and destroy is bad. Yeah. It's not good and it doesn't help you. And there's many reasons for this, but I'm going to first talk about this, that if you've been told that this is how many people do it and how a lot of people do it, it's not. And in fact, I don't think I've ever seen anybody at a higher level do that where they go across the entire frequency spectrum. I have seen lots of people do that within a specific range, like I can tell in my ears that it's somewhere between 2 and 4K. I just don't know exactly where it is, so I'm going to seek and destroy, search and destroy somewhere between the 2 and 4K, but I haven't seen it done for like 20 hertz to 20K.
I think a better way of verbalizing the difference would be there are many people who think that using seek and destroy openly is effective, but the people who use it the most effectively tend to rely on their ears to let them know, hey, it's not the whole spectrum we have to double check, it's just this one part of the spectrum.
Yeah.
Using it with intent will yield significantly better results, and most professionals move away from using it with just an open ear to like, well, if I hear something, then maybe I'll cut it.
So then the question becomes, how do I know what to listen for and what sounds bad? And in the early stages of mixing, you're not going to be able to tell, first off, like everything sounds bad or everything sounds good. Yeah. And you might cut something, but it's like off of a feeling, but then you realize you regret it later when you're like 20 tracks down. It's like, that's not working. You have to go back to it, or you don't even really release it. And then you recognize it later. Or you never recognize it. It's really hard to tell. At the beginning stages, and the only way to overcome this is by practicing, like doing it a lot, like actually mixing and trying to EQ and find frequencies that work well with other tracks, because it's not just making individual tracks sound good, but it's more about making the individual tracks sound cohesive with the other tracks. So sometimes I'm going to boost things that I don't like the sound of inherently, but it blends better. Exactly. Yeah. Or like I cut things that I don't want to cut, but it blends better.
Yeah.
And that blending together is going to always be the more important part. Okay. So seeking and destroy is bad. One thing that I know you've seen me do a lot and this is something that's inherently experienced engineers do versus non-experienced engineers. So non-experienced engineers, what they're going to do is they're going to kind of figure out, they're guessing. Like, I don't know what this song could sound like or what this track, how to make this track better, but I think it's this. And they're like kind of guessing. And thus the seek and destroy mentality works. Because you're like, okay, I don't know. I'm supposed to cut something. So like 20 hertz to 20K, like I'm going to seek and destroy. But that's not how professional and experienced engineers work. Yeah. Meaning when you work on a master or when you work on a mix, you already know what the end song is supposed to sound like, what you want it to sound like, to a certain degree. It's not perfect, but you have a direction in your mind.
And sometimes the moves you make influence that direction.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
So one of the things that I recommend doing, so like one thing that you can practice when you go home is, instead of guessing where the frequencies are, before you even touch that EQ, is I want you to whistle or hum or hear the frequency that you want to cut out before you do it.
Yeah.
I do this out loud with my interns constantly.
Yeah. I actually do this. So I have another way of doing that, but for live sound, if you're ever trying to figure out what frequencies to cut, because especially in live sound, if you wanted to cut all frequencies to try to negate feedback or whatever, the master bus is going to sound like shit, and you're going to have to compensate. And then you've actually, this is the part that a lot of people don't talk about when overdoing seek and destroy, is by cutting out certain frequencies, even if they're close to each other, you're now creating different resonances. You actually, I forget who talked about this. If you start taking away certain frequencies out of the mix, you'll notice that there's issues in the rest of the realm. And that makes, once again, seek and destroy less of a needed practice. But in live sound, if I were to take down one frequency, I might accidentally create a different resonance in the process. So if you can hear where it's resonating, where it's about to feed back, where there's an overtone in the room, try to hum it, whistle it, use an RTA. There's RTA apps on your phone. Whistle it if you can't really tell right away, and see where you're landing frequency wise. It's a good way of practicing and kind of training your ear on your own to see if you can match what you're hearing, just like DK said. Just try not to overdo it, because then you're actually going to inherently create another resonant frequency. If you take a tight Q and notch it down here, and then only like 100 hertz later do it here, well, guess what? There's a deviation here, and there's a peak right here of this one frequency. This one frequency is now the resonance
Yeah. So I don't believe in like rules of thumb or something like rules of thumbs. Rules for thumbs. Thumbs rule. Okay. So
Yes, they do. They really do.
but I don't think there's any like sort of like rule that you should follow. But in general, I find that if I do super tight, deep, resonant notches, more than 3 of them on a single track, it kills the track, especially in
Yeah.
a vocal. If I do
Yeah.
more than 3 narrow notches, deep narrow notches, we're not talking like half a dB notches. You shouldn't be doing a million of those
No.
anyways. That just looks silly.
Yeah.
It doesn't do very much.
I remember seeing like other engineers post like they're like, "Oh, this is how you know when the mix is starting to sound good," and I'd see like 15 of them on Pro Q. I'm like,
and they're like all doing like
oh,
1 dB.
yeah,
with,
and I'm
like-
like, nope.
Yeah. Anyway, we're not going to judge. If that
Yeah.
works for you, that just for you. Works for you. But the point is, like, if you do more than 3 deep notches, that cuts out resonances. Maybe even more than 2. That's most likely going to make it really hollow and kill, like, the liveliness or the human aspect of it, of a track. Okay. Another thing, too. So, again, the reason why I go back to and recommend humming or recognizing the frequency before you cut it or even search for it is because now you're training your ear to recognize what you don't like. And it's
Yeah.
no longer guessing. Because
Yeah.
if you're just doing it without attempting to hear anything before, then what you're telling yourself is, we're going to fucking shoot the shit and kind of guess. But if you're like, okay, I don't like how, I don't like how, but like, I don't, and it might be like a note, it might not be a note, it might be like a whistle tone, and sometimes they're way too high that you can't even whistle it.
Yeah.
But if you kind of think about it in your head before you find it, and then you find it, it's going to help train your ear, and it's going to make your mixes sound better because you're doing things now on purpose. Absolutely important. I mean, even when you cut things, you
Yeah.
may not whistle things out loud in a studio setting, not in a live setting. In a studio setting, you may not whistle the tone, but you recognize what you want to cut out before you cut it.
Yeah, typically, and this is kind of something that comes with time, especially if you're starting to get to know your own gear. One thing is like getting to know your room. Your room may resonate at a certain frequency, and so you notice that you do a lot of, notching down here on your vocal recordings from your booth because your booth has a natural tendency of boosting this one frequency. Okay, cool. You're starting to recognize these things. But if you really kind of want to start hearing things out, shout out to Plugin Alliance and Adapter. They make a plugin called Metric AB. And I think I've told you before, but I use their filters a lot. I'll actually select mid-band and I'll set the low cut at 400 hertz and the high cut at 6,000 hertz. And I'll try to get the elements that I like there, because a lot of times I get distracted by low end. I want my low end loud and I want it punchy, whatever. But like the meat and potatoes is in the mid range, right? But a lot of times when you hear everything resonating around, it's sometimes kind of hard to hear it in the much. If you're having a hard time and you're having to rely on Seek and Destroy, try limiting the range that you're listening to. Certain things will actually reveal themselves if certain elements are taken out of the context of the mix. So a lot of times if you take out, like, let's say 100 hertz, you start noticing you're like, oh, actually around 200 hertz, it's really thick.
Ooh.
And maybe that's why my kick drum and my bass aren't really meshing all that well, because the bass actually reaches all the way up there and so does the kick. I need to create some separation. And now instead of Seek and Destroy, now you're just listening to that range and listening for separation versus like how loud can I make one versus the other in a full range kind of sense.
Absolutely. So the
Yeah.
one thing that everybody else, especially retailing YouTube channels where they want you to buy gear, they're going to say the solution to this is to buy something like a mix cube or a different set of speakers so you can hear things differently.
Adapter.
But yeah, you can use something like Adapter, or even on the mix bus, if you just take something like a regular, the
Tonal
fucking-
balance control.
or just like the regular ass default EQ. You
Yeah.
turn on high and low pass filter
And
and
just-
like bring them in on the mix bus, so you're only listening to the mid range.
Yeah.
That'll hyper focus your mid range, and then you just take it off after you kind of mix with that on.
Exactly. And honestly, really good practice. If you're like in my case, like mastering a lot of records, like if you're trying to EQ it better or correct whatever things, if you have Adapter or a monitor controller or something, send that thing to a separate channel or just make it so you can A/B it. Honestly, double check your EQs. You'd be surprised. Like even a little bit of EQ can be over EQing,
Yeah.
but honestly speaking,
I've
just
heard
use
both.
Yeah.
I've heard both. I've heard
Yeah.
people be like, "Yo, come on, don't be a bitch with this EQ. Like, you got to do more." And
no,
then
and
I've
see,
also heard,
that's-
"Oh my gosh, you're doing way too much."
That's why I like talking to my clients. Like, hey, what do you prefer? Like, are you looking for me to revolutionize the wheel, or are you looking for me to round off the edges?
Yeah, there are definitely mixes where I'm doing way too much, but it sounds great.
Yeah.
And there are mixes where I'm doing way too much, and I'm definitely doing way too much.
Yeah.
So it's like at that point, I have to take a pause and kind of refresh, and take a break, step away from the computer for a little bit, and come back to it and figure out, once the bias is, gone,
Mhm.
and then come back to it and refresh my ears and figure out, oh, was I going crazy or was I onto something?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, one of my favorite things, honestly, lately is I've been like playing with my setup. I think I've switched like my desk configuration like 3 times in the last 2 months, which has been really fun and revealing as to how much your furniture plays in your room. But even more so than that, just if you're having problems with like resonating frequencies and you say like, oh, I'd noticed in my room, like when I go to the car, I always had to do like more EQ because I start finding more things. Working headphones or just treat your room. Like, honestly speaking, if you were to do the EQ moves in your headphones, you'd be surprised how much more you can hear than in your monitors half the time. Like, it's kind of a big reason that I still tell people to this day, like, I don't personally like mixing in headphones or mastering in headphones, but I'll put them on when I'm doing like little tiny moves because it doesn't take as much loudness for me to hear it, 1, so my ears aren't fatiguing as long. 2, there's less of a room issue between it. So if you're kind of questioning your EQ moves and you're kind of having consistency issues, Seek and Destroy doesn't really help with that. More consistent monitoring will help you out with that, and having something that's kind of like a trusted source. So if filtering out the frequencies like I do kind of help you listen for separation, and it's a really good way of testing monitors. If you ever have a chance to demo some monitors versus your active set, filter out frequencies and compare in ranges. But to be honest, like a better set of cans can help you out more than Seek and Destroy can most times, because at least a good set of cans won't destroy the mix the more you listen to them.
Yeah. And honestly, when it comes to headphones, we've talked about this. Cans, by the way, is headphones.
Yeah.
But we've talked about this many, many times. I think headphones are the future, and they're getting better all the time. And especially with like Atmos fold back and how you can compress an Atmos signal to fit into a pair of headphones. I think that
It's kind of impressive.
yeah, I think that you can, I think that there's a lot of future and potential in headphones. But the
Especially
great thing
after
about
hearing
the
those
most,
nannies.
yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
But there's another thing about headphones. It's like, again, kind of like having a good set of headphones. It's also just getting used to whatever you're using.
Yeah.
I have a few different producers that like to work on their AirPods because that's what they listen to the most on. And it's more about what you're used to. It's not necessarily the quality of the headphones. It's about what you're used to.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I think that kind of wraps it up for this episode.
Yeah.
The power of subtractive EQ,
Yeah.
and also how much it could damage or save a mix.
Yeah.
And it's all comes down to you doing things on purpose. After that, it's experimentation. It's just experience where you just try things and you try continuing to balance things and trying to get things to work together. You work on songs, hundreds of songs, and eventually you start to get it. It's like, it worked better when I got the bass and the kick drum to fit like this over time, and like it worked on this last song, because your songs are going to be hit or miss. Even the pros have hit and miss.
Yeah.
And you're going to learn from your hits and misses. You're going to be like, it worked really well on this song, but it didn't work on this song. And then you try the same thing that worked on a different song on this song, but it's not working on this song.
Yeah.
So you got to try something else. And the thing that didn't work on that song works on this song.
Yep.
And then, it's all over the place.
I actually just had this happen on Thursday night. I had a client who, I've been mastering like his second album. So this is my second album doing it with him. And, this guy, he's a jazz bass player, really damn good at what he does, really great music. But he usually his mixing engineer, who just so happens to be Bob Horn, Bob's really great at his low end and he's very tight, gets his mixes loud. But his client still, prefers to have a deeper bass. So in the mastering process, he likes Voice of God from UA, which is an emulation of the Little Labs Voice of God. But it's really fun because this is the first time he's actually not liked Voice of God on the master. He went to Bob and said, hey, these are my notes on the master. Me and Lou worked on it for a little bit, but I feel like we can tighten up the mix a little more. And he asked me right when he walked in the studio, he's like, Lou, you put that Voice of God, right? And I was like, yep, I know how you like it. And I just touched it with like maybe 1 on amplitude, like almost nothing. But he heard it and he's like, let me hear it without it. I don't know, Lou, am I crazy? Does it not sound good with it this time? Like, is it actually working against it this time? Like, you asked Bob to turn up the bass. Like, it's already got more bass. Like, we don't need to add more on top of more. Like, we're good. And this is like, he was kind of mind blowing because he's like, but I always use it. Well, it didn't work this time. Normally it works, but this time it didn't.
So go again to being less automated with your moves and being more thoughtful.
Yeah.
And doing things on purpose. So hopefully that helps you. The big takeaway from this is try to recognize, even whistle or hum the frequencies that you want to delete or want to get rid of before you do. Even doing that with your boosting. If you like, try to visualize, imagine, or like hear what frequencies you want to boost before you boost them. Whatever it is. And try that. And then after that, honestly, just mix as many songs as you can. And practice, and how you get tracks to work together is going to be different from how I get tracks to work together, and that's where the different personalities of mixes comes from different mixers. How Lou likes the balance and the relationship between individual tracks versus I do is going to make his mix sound different from mine.
Yeah.
And that's the beauty of having different mixers, different mixes. They both sound good and blended really well, but maybe Lou emphasized the Rhodes. And I turn down the lows and emphasize the drums or the vocal or whatever, and that makes the track feel different. So hopefully that helps. Please, if you want to hear more content just like this, we offer exclusive episodes. So if you want 3 times the amount of episodes, go to mixingmusicpodcast.com/exclusive. It'll unlock 2 more episodes every single week. That means you'll get 3 episodes a week instead of 1. It's only $4 a month or $40 a year. Same as a cup of coffee once a month. That's what it is.
Yeah.
And on top of that, we have a merch shop now, which is mixingmusicpodcast.com/shop. So I need to stop saying / because it's actually / because someone left 5-star review rating on our Apple Podcasts.
Nice.
And in the feedback, they left some feedback and said it's not / it's /. But thank you so much for leaving a 5-star rating. If you are listening on Spotify or on Apple or whatever you're listening on, please leave a 5-star rating. It does help us to grow. We're very, very grateful for anybody that's listening. Happy mixing, my friends, and stay saucy.
Yeah, seen a vid that said Voice of God is not doing much besides some EQ curves. It's true and it's not
Recording
true.
stopped.
It's Paul Third. You're thinking about Paul Third.
Yeah.
I saw it too.
So the UA one does not add the same harmonics that the actual analog hardware does. I actually had the hardware.
No harmonics.
Yeah, exactly.
The UAD one adds no
Yeah,
harmonics.
it's just an EQ curve. The actual hardware one does, though. That one does saturate a little bit, and that's why I miss having my pair, which is why I may not sell my API rack. I might just buy another pair of Voice of Gods, because they actually do sound different. Like, the real unit does sound wildly different, but it was a close enough difference to where I was like, okay.
So, Secret, one of the plugins that we're working on.
Mm-hmm.
Someday I'm going to release my plugins. We're still in development with them right now.
Mm-hmm.
But the second one that we're going to finish up is just a fucking copy of Voice of God.
Yeah.
But not sell it for $100 and be hardware dependent with Universal Audio.
Yeah.
There's a free one called Bark of Dog, but I've used that a lot, and it does not sound anything like the OG. So we're going to do the same knobs, the same GUI, just like rebrand it to be something different.
Mm-hmm.
And we're going to sell it like that.
Are you going to put the frequency number?
We're going to do the same way the knobs are going to look the same.
Yeah, just intensity, and that's it.
What is it? Amplitude and
frequency.
Yeah. So
but frequency is from 0 to 10.
Yeah. We're going to do that with the center frequency.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Bark of Dog was not the same. I didn't like that one at all. So we're going to do one that's literally sample by sample the same as the Voice of God, but way cheaper, probably like free or $20.
That's good.
But it's going to work better.
Same guy doing all the plugins?
Yeah.
Nice.
So we're going to try to do that. We're going to figure that out.
Yeah.
We're still trying to finish the first freaking one. I just downloaded the next revision of of the plugin. I need to check that out, trial that out. Justin right now is helping us with the graphics.
Nice. Wait, just in JR.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So we're at that point right now, and then eventually we're gonna, after we make one or two, we're gonna reach out to Avid and try to get them into AAX or AXX format for Avid.
So you could encode it for it without reaching out.
And once we make more money and can kind of pay for things, because right now we're doing it like split profits, so I'm making contracts to split profits with everybody working on it. But once we have the money to just buy plugins outright, what I'm gonna do is like have you design a plugin too,
Nice.
and it's kind of do like a Lou plugin or like a Lou kind of thing.
The Lou glue.
Lou,
Lou's glue.
Puff and glue with Lou.
Oh
All right.
God. I wish I knew how to play the bass line from Seinfeld, because
But thank you so much for listening. We're gonna end the stream. I'm gonna edit this podcast to go up tomorrow. The one we just did is probably gonna go up tomorrow. And then next week is Golfoss, and we're gonna do a giveaway with them and everything like that. So that's gonna be a fun episode.
Nice.
Anyway, thank you so much for listening. Happy mixing, my friends. Stay saucy.